Good day, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. This is Viper of Viperland, and I've returned. We're here with Great Ace Attorney on a Tuesday, because that's just how it worked out this week. Also, my monitor tilted more. Yeah, whatever. It's all good. Yeah, we left off in the middle of the first trial because that's just how things go sometimes. Sometimes you don't make it to the end of a trial. My throat was hurting, I believe. So, yeah. Might do the same this week. I mean, I had karaoke Saturday. It's Tuesday now. I'm definitely feeling much better than I was, let's say, Sunday. Well, who knows? But yeah. Yes, I did pose the withering English Rose a question. I don't deny it. But she could no longer speak. She was barely conscious, even. Counsel for the defense. I expect a thorough cross-examination to be conducted here. This court must and will know the truth. Absolutely, Your Excellency. The reporter is claiming that Miss Brett implicated Ray somehow. What on earth could have happened in that hut? Well, I guess we're going to find out. Witnesses' secrets. I don't know what I did for
Hold it!
Oh, well, we'll figure it out. You asked her for an interview, you say? Well, of course I did. I wanted to ask her about the incident she was involved in at the end of last year. About the case in which Dr. John H. Wilson lost his life. That's not the way I phrased it. Mini-memoism calls for straight talking. That was pretty straight talking. Oh, no? Okay, do you know what? Why did you murder Dr. Wilson? That's how I put it to her. That's fair. That's straight. Yes, that sort of talking is as straight as a ruler. Ask every question as if you're asking for a menu at a restaurant, I say. It's the best way. A veteran at the paper taught me that. And how did Miss Brett answer? With one simple phrase. Mystery is a woman's charm. Wow, not, oh, I didn't murder him. Oh, he had it coming. No, mystery. Oh, that told me. So I waltzed right out of there. Really? Something about that doesn't quite seem to fit together. Leave every room as if you're waltzing in a dance hall, I say. It's the best way. A veteran at the paper taught me that. Of course. Let's see what's outside.
Hold it!
It was very persistent of you, considering that Miss Brett had just turned you away. Persistence wins the prize. Any mini-memoist will tell you that. Let them think you've left. Then, when they lower their guard, that's when you swoop in for a scoop. By taking pictures from behind cover where they can't see you and you're peeping at them. And the fruits of your labor are all too apparent in this telling photograph. God, I hate him. I mean, you're supposed to. It's the whole point. Just move the camera there. Feels better. Though I'm sure the young yokel student would rather not be reminded of this damning evidence. And anyone who thinks about it for half a second realizes it's not damning. Actually, it's thanks to that photograph that we managed to identify this witness. And now that you found me, I'll tell you whatever you want to know. I've got nothing to hide. Lies, I'm sure. Please do go ahead, witness. The court is eager to hear what you have to say. Try to stop me. There's a story to tell here. Alright, just realized the victim set a pulse, trying to help. And so Seki-san remained behind in the hut. That's right, yep. Our author friend here was a blabbering wreck, shaking all over from his head to his toes, mustache twitching, eyes bulging. What do you expect? You don't know the terrifying troubles that taunted me whilst traveling abroad. Back behind, baleful bars! They'll be coming for me shortly. That's all I could think. I felt as though I were grasping for air, drowning in a sea of cold sweat. Kuroso Seki-san, his experiences in London have scarred him deeply. As the world seemed to close in around me, I quietly recited a prayer to Amida Buddha. Eternal emptiness, empty eternity. The end is coming for me, surely. No sutras are to resound in my courtroom, please. And now, we come to the crucial part. That's what happened. So Spider-Man here asked the woman a very significant question. Yep. What question? What exactly did he say? Well now, you should hear this from the horse's mouth, I think. Don't you, Mr. Rider-Man? Ah! Is everyone a yokel to him? Out with it, you yokel hack! What did you say to her? What did you say to the dying Englishwoman? Well, in truth, I've been catching crabs at the water's edge and building castles on the sandy sea. Well, the seaside is a place to be at leisure, I suppose, even for a grown man. But then all of a sudden, from that little beach hut, the young girl's panic-stricken cries for help pierced the air. Right. I ran up to the beach to see what was happening, to find the defendant leaning over the collapsed woman. As soon as Inspector Hosunaga saw Miss Brett on the ground, he sprinted off to get help. And then, just a moment later, I heard a faint moan. A moan from the dead Englishwoman. I nearly jumped out of my skin. But what did you ask her, Soseki-san? I asked her, who did this to you? Don't protract this any longer. How did the woman respond? She didn't. She said nothing in response. But. When in the stand, you will answer the questions asked of you unambiguously. Now, without evasion or reticence, I demand that you amend your testimony. Well. Poor guy. I asked her who did this to you, but she never replied. Hold it! So you tried to find out who the culprit was. He who asks a question is a fool for a minute. He who does not remains a fool forever. And having been labeled a criminal twice during my time in Great Britain, I was quick to make up my mind. Better to be a fool for a minute than remain a fool in prison forever. However, you've indicated that the victim failed to respond. Is that correct? I know why. I know why the Englishwoman said nothing. She was ignoring me because of my stupid mustache, because I'm Japanese. Oh dear. Soseki-san really has developed a dislike for the English, it seems. I can't imagine why. Having read the report on his time in Great Britain, I can't say I'm surprised that it seemed to put... Yeah, no. Yeah. You know, casually pin crimes on him, lock him up. But the Englishwoman didn't ignore you at all. Did she, Mr. Rider-Man? Huh? Well, yes. Alright. She did respond in a manner of speaking, I suppose. She just lifted a trembling finger and pointed it in the direction of the defendant. Oh, I meant to hold it there. Whoops. Poor Soseki-san has been fidgeting constantly in the stand next to Minimemo-san. Yes, like a naughty child who's waiting for punishment from his parents. Rather reminds me of you when you were younger. How it's like that? Never mind that now. Question is, how far can we trust this reporter's account of events? We must focus our energies on gathering information and establishing facts. Yes! Probably help if I actually press them on that final bit.
Hold it!
Miss Brett pointed a finger at the defendant. Soseki-san, is that really true? It's not easy to stand here and say this, but when we first entered the beach hut, the Englishwoman was sprawled out on the floor before us with the student girl standing on the far side of her. And when I asked, who did this to you? I mean, to be fair, she's also pointing behind her where the photograph was being taken from. The Englishwoman summoned her last ounce of strength to point a trembling finger at the back of the hut. I mean, if she was seated in that seat, when presumably the knife entered her back, then she's still pointing in the right direction. Which was, can't be denied, in the direction of the student girl who stands accused today. It also can't be denied that's where the photograph was taken from, but you know, whatever. I mean, why use facts or logic? Or reasoning or anything? So Seki-san, why on earth did you neglect to mention this in your original testimony? But fiddlesticks, I say! This is not a British court of law. You will respond in Japanese. Yes, of course. The Englishwoman did point her finger towards the back of the hut, but I was trembling, and she was trembling, and everything was a blur. And thinking about it, I feel as though perhaps she was pointing in a slightly different direction. Actually, no! Not slightly, in a very different direction to where the student girl was standing. Somewhere at the back of the hut, where nobody was standing at all. You mean that your memory of events and the direction in which the victim was pointing are both unclear? Oh yeah, vibes. Vibes is how we do court around here, Grim. Vibes and hiccups. Also, hey, how's it going? Welcome to Viperland in the chat. Yes, that's it. Unclear. I'm very, very unclear. Your Excellency, surely this proves the matter beyond all reasonable doubt. I mean, unless there was somebody outside of the hut behind where she was sitting that could have put a knife in her back, where we know there was somebody there because we have photographic evidence of it. She must be pointing at the student instead. Yes, the woman may barely have been conscious, and yes, perhaps her finger wavered slightly, but there could be no doubt that this was an attempt by the victim to confirm the identity of her assailant. Why? Because as the court can see, there was no one other than the accused in the direction the victim was pointing. Unless you look at the picture that you put up as evidence, and go, where was that picture taken from? You know. I mean, unless you do that. It is now abundantly clear that no one besides the accused could possibly have committed this crime. No. Also, she was... I'm inclined to agree, and in the absence of any credible argument to the contrary, except all the credible arguments we've made, I believe we can now conclude this trial. No! No! The headline's writing itself. Dashing lawyers hopes dash. 92 points across the whole page. We'll do an extra edition. This is a serious blow, Susato. Unless we're able to identify the true culprit and substantiate our claim with evidence, the judge will give his ruling and the trial will be over. But that's impossible, Father. We don't even know how the crime was committed yet. Possible though the task may seem, we have no choice. We must think back over everything we've learned thus far. Somewhere in all those details, I'm confident we'll find the clue we need. Ray gave us her account of how events unfolded in the defendant's antechamber before the trial resumed. She told us what happened at the precise moment Miss Brett was killed. How could Miss Brett have been stabbed in the back in a beach hut that was empty but for herself and Ray? Somewhere amid all the information we've gathered so far, there must be an answer to that question. I guess the same way you would, take a picture through that hut by just kind of brushing the reeds aside slightly. Take it then that the defense has nothing further to add. So, the gallant yokel student's luck finally runs out. Can't say I'm surprised. Oh, you suck. In that case, I'm ready to deliver my final verdict on this matter. This is a crucial turning point now. If I can't establish what really happened, it's over. Where was the real culprit hiding, and how did he or she stab the victim? I know how.
Objection!
Your Excellency, I respectfully ask you to postpone your adjudication for the time being. Oh, to what end, Counsel? The defense would like to present the court with an alternative theory. An alternative theory that can explain who the victim was actually trying to implicate with her dying gesture.
Objection!
That alternative theory, none exists.
Objection!
I mean, there was someone else present at the scene who could have committed this crime. What? And the victim, Miss Brett, tried to reveal who it was to those around her at the time by mustering all her remaining strength and pointing a trembling finger in the killer's direction. This is fiction, fantasy. Very well. As you seem so sure of yourself, Counsel, I am prepared to hear your alternative theory. So, young Ryutaro Naruhodo. Yes, Your Excellency. You will present your latest theory to the court by means of this plan. At the moment the victim was stabbed, where exactly are you proposing the culprit was concealed? Yoink.
Take that!
Naruhodo-san would never give up, and I am a Naruhodo now. The true culprit who fatally stabbed Miss Brett was concealed in this location here. Are you mad, Counsel? You're suggesting the culprit was outside the hut? The hut made of reeds that really don't connect together super strongly. Enough that you could just kind of nudge them aside and stick an entire camera lens through. Yeah, I'm suggesting that maybe a knife could have happened too. Order, order, order! But student lawyer Naruhodo-san Esquire, that makes no sense at all. You just pointed out the exact spot where I was hiding to get my scoop staff. But I didn't see any suspicious individuals loitering about. I can swear to that. Obviously, the culprit had been outside the hut. There's no way that he or she could have stabbed the victim who was inside the... Y'all all just forgetting the fact that the hut was just made of some reeds? Actually, Prosecutor Ouchie, there is a way. In point of fact, the defense can provide evidence strongly suggesting that it's precisely the way Mrs. Brett was killed. You're bluffing. You're bluffing, you yokel. The defense's assertion is clearly too fantastical for the court to comprehend. You'll need to give us more guidance, Counsel. What piece of evidence corroborates your theory that the victim was stabbed from outside the hut? Picture, right? Yeah.
Take that!
Well, I've presented it now, but I haven't the first idea why I chose this piece of evidence. If that's wrong, I'm going to be upset, because... Counsel, you're suggesting that this piece of evidence bears out your theory as to how the victim was stabbed. Yes. It's something of a windfall, Your Excellency. What? Bullcrap. Damn it, that should have worked. I'm mad that didn't work. That is a picture that was taken by moving the reeds that were the wall of this hut aside to stick the camera lens through. How is that not exactly related to how you could move the reeds aside to jab a knife through? How is that not related? That's some bullcrap. If your theory is correct and the knife was thrust into Miss Brett's back from outside the hut, there should be a visible trace somewhere. Trace? Yes. On the hut itself. Armed with that idea, I must look through the court record again. Okay, fine. That also works. But I stand by saying that the photograph that I showed the other time first should also work. I get why this is what they wanted us to do, but the other one should definitely work because it shows the exact same principle. In fact, I'd argue it shows it clearer. However, I see where you're going. Your Excellency, the defendants would like to present a different piece of evidence. Like, I'm not grasping at straws here. That picture should have worked. Go ahead. Well, piece of evidence.
Take that!
The original photographic print of the crime scene. Yes, it's clearly visible in this print. The trace of the fatal thrust that was delivered from outside the beach house.
Objection!
Do you take us for fools? Yes. There's no hint of any such thing. There absolutely is, and you're all fools. I'm not sure that everyone present would agree. Someone, at least, appears to have noticed what it is that I'm referring to. Counsel, once again I must call on you to be explicit for the court. Where on this photograph is the trace of the stabbing which you claim took place from outside the hut?
Take that!
look closely just here. In the screen at the back of the hut, you can see the effects of a blade having been forced through the reeds. No, I can't. I can't see any such thing. It's true that the hut in question had 4 walls as you'd expect, however. By parting the reeds, a knife blade could easily penetrate them. This is extraordinary. This just in. Local judge does not understand how reeds work. Yes. The true culprit actually stabbed the victim from outside the beach hut. And of everyone present at the scene, there's only one person who could have done that. Only one person who was directly outside the hut when Miss Brett was killed. Write in many memos, son. It could only have been you.
No.
Well,
Objection!
this preposterous idea leaves me almost speechless. Clearly it doesn't, because you're still going. Just look at the photograph again. The victim lies almost exactly in the center of the beach hut, does she not? Are we to assume, as part of this farcical scenario, that the assailant was a knife thrower?
Objection!
No, of course not. We're not. If you recall the testimony of the defendant about the events just before the victim's death. A stool? Have another look at the photograph. The slit in the reed screen would align perfectly with the back of a person who's sitting on that stool. My word. So, in fact, the victim was killed while sitting on that stool by a stab wound to her back delivered through the reed system. Having been attacked, Miss Brett rose to her feet instinctively, but then, unable to speak, she collapsed on the floor in the middle of the hut. Before the defendant, Bami-san's appalled eyes. Yeah. And that, Your Excellency, is the truth of what happened at the beach that day. By your silence, Minimemo-san, I take it that you don't deny the charge. This is absurd. That will do. It would appear that we have a tacit admission of guilt from the witness. Accordingly, this court has successfully established the truth of this matter, which means that the defendant, Mambani-san, is innocent of the crime. Oh, thank goodness. I finally made him cave. I must say, you have never been more proud. No, this can't be. The Ouchi clan can't. What of my growth of hope? It wasn't all an apparition. I can't accept this. I won't. I see no reason for the continuance of this trial. I will therefore... Well, this is all very convenient. This is how the highest court in our mighty empire delivers justice, does it? Or is it? Surprisingly well-mannered citizens, well-meaning citizens, freedom to speak and brand them as criminals. But we've established that the victim was stabbed from outside the hut. The authorities have seen that through the reed screen walls. Blah, blah, blah. And no one but you was in place at the time to have his hand on the hilt of the blade. It's a perfectly logical deduction. So, your argument that hinges on the location of whether whoever stabbed the Englishwoman does it? Well, seems a little irrelevant now. Irrelevant? Where she was stabbed, how she was stabbed. It doesn't matter. I mean, whether she was stabbed at all makes no difference if you think about it. After all, this trial's already shut down, showing the whole thing hinges on something else. What are you talking about? Brace yourself, little man. Talking about the fact that everything's changed. Because of the dirt you dug up. What? Enough obscurity. Explain yourself, witness. What's to explain? I'm talking about the position papers. They have points, of course. But the poison? Let's ask the professor for a comment on the situation, shall we? There's a bit of evidence. I understand that the deadly poison you were developing was stolen from your laboratory, correct? And it's been shown that this poison was administered to the victim as spray, is that right? That is correct. The unusual constriction of the victim's pupils are a sure sign that this particular poison was used. I see. So, presumably that means that the victim already had the poison in her body before she was stabbed. Oh. Given that her pupils were clearly constricted, it seems highly likely, yes. If she had been dead already, the poison could not have circulated in her blood. How refreshing to hear the argument of a metropolitan mind. Precisely, it matters not a jolt who stabbed whom and whose back. Blades were barred. Because quite simply, the Englishwoman's life was taken not by the knife, but by the poison.
Objection!
But that can be explained by the poison beings on the blade. As I already.
Objection!
Ha. Forgotten already, have you, yokel? During these very proceedings, the laboratory of the professor at your side assured assisted improvement. Let the blade fall. That the blade of the weapon used to attack the victim had no trace of poison on it whatsoever. Well, but... So let me get this down. The facts are skillfully established by the defense of this trial. Turn out to be a headline-making red herring. Is that about right? Well... Order! But where does this leave us? How, in that case, did the poison enter the victim's body? There's an undeniably obvious answer to that. The lady most likely imbibed it. I mean, she can drink it? Having a look at the photograph here, as you can see. A bottle of carbonated water and a glass had been knocked onto the sandy floor of the beach house. The poison could have been slipped into either. So somebody made Miss Brett drink it. Oh, what do you know? Look at those dashing eyes. This will make for a quick front page shot. Hey, why the bewitching stare? After all, I'm the last person we should be looking at. No, you're the only person we should be looking at. You're the only one behind her. I'm extra tired today. I don't know why. I actually slept pretty well last night. Over the weekend, not so much, but last night pretty okay. It made no sense at all that I poisoned the woman, would it? I mean, that's been established already. Has it? Have you given any reason as to why you wouldn't?
Hold it!
Established? What are you talking about? Don't tell me you forgot. It's a little hard to believe, given that the person who established it was you. Me? What on earth does he mean? Oh, let me capture those wide eyes. This is prime press fodder, this is. Ah, yes. The deadly premonition is a nap. It seems that this trial is not destined to end yet after all. I hereby call upon the witness to give further testimony. That's great, that is. Let me get a shot of that magnificent beard, Your Excellency. You claim it to be impossible that you were the one responsible for administering the poison to the victim. You explained to the court in your testimony the basis upon which you make such a claim. But you know I'm a man. I never tried to run or hide from anything in my life. I'm not about to start now, because that's many memoism. I feel like we still need to tie... We still have that, but they're not going to listen to it. That still has his initials. Did we... Yeah, we probably did. I'm not going to start now, because that's many memos on me. Yeah, whatever. For a brief moment, I thought I'd illuminated the truth, but it slipped right back into obscurity again. It hasn't. No, they're just, you know, kicking up smoke. Just where is this trial going to take us? I'm sure his testimony will be sound, and sane. Oh yes, I stabbed the Englishwoman, and it's that very fact that proves I'm innocent. What? Because why would I have bothered to stab the woman if I'd already poisoned her? Excuse me. So, you're trying to get yourself away from a murder sentence and onto attempted murder? Your argument being you tried to kill her, you just failed and somebody else got her first? That's a tactic, I suppose. That sure is a tactic. Or like, yeah, I stabbed her, but if she died from poison, I didn't poison the dagger, so somebody else must have done something at roughly the exact time that I stabbed her. That would lead her to be poison dead and not stabby dead. When I heard the student girl and that pompous English murderer arguing, it got my goat. If the courts weren't going to punish Brett for what she did, someone else would have to see justice done. So, you admitted then that everything happened as I described. You were the one who stabbed Miss Brett in the back through the reed screen. You blame this miserable country of yours. A country that bows to the pressure of foreign powers and lets murderers walk free. What kind of future can a country like that have? That's why I did it. I did what our pathetic leaders didn't have the guts to do. Slap bang in the middle of that charming lady's back. I plunged the blade of sweet justice right in. As someone who spends his life seeing that the truth is told, I feel really, really off about giving false information in my testimony before. But as it turns out, there was somebody else who had it in for the victim and got to her before me. That's right, you guessed it. That pretty little student girl. Now there's a woman after my own heart. You're implicating Ray again. He's the one who gave the poison to the Englishwoman and ended her pitiful existence. And suddenly, snap, the journal here is off the hook. No, you're not! You stabbed her! You're not off the hook! You're on a different, but only slightly, ever so slightly smaller hook. You still stabbed her. Premeditated murder, not just murder. You went in with the intention of stabbing her. The argument is sound, certainly. If the witness had administered the poison himself, he needed only have waited for it to take effect. Subsequently, stabbing the victim in the back would have been entirely nonsensical. And therefore, this reporter had nothing to do with the poisoning. Yes, it's all quite logical. Yes. It is entirely possible he had nothing to do with the poisoning, but he still crept outside of their changing room and stabbed her in the back. That's right, it is. Logical and true. I'm glad you've all seen the light. Justice at last! This is unbelievable. After I made so much progress in proving his guilt, is he going to get away with it now? Her slap isn't nearly as good because the lips don't do little shock waves. It's good, it's just not quite the same. Also, hey Sora, how's it going? Welcome to Viperland in the chat. Think of Kazuma-sama and Naruhodo-san. They never stopped looking for a way forward until the judge's final gavel. Shit, that was the final gavel! Very well done, counsel. Proceed with what I assume to be your final cross-examination in this trial. Yeah, it's probably gotta be. Yes, Your Excellency. Wasn't it just 2 lines anyway? No, I guess it was more.
Hold it!
So, you do admit that you had murderous intentions towards Miss Bretland. Ha! The woman's very existence offended my sense of justice. Your sense of naming some sort of righteous indignation? She was pure evil, cold-blooded killer who committed murder right here on the Empire's soil. So, you committed cold-blooded justice on her back, which makes you better? Different? But did our good-for-nothing government do anything? Not a chance. So I had to step in. Fly the flag of justice. Put things right for the people. Yes, it was my civic duty. That's what drove me to it. So in summary, murderous intentions then. Whatever you want to call it. The point is this. The English woman was a blight. So I had to do what was right for society. Yet a real wrong was done by the student girl in the dock, a crime for which she must pay. Obviously, because the poisoning was nothing to do with me at all. So you still maintain that you didn't give the poison to the victim? Obviously, that'd be like putting a belt on your trousers when you were already wearing braces like these. I mean suspenders. The accused administered the poison, following which the witness stabbed the victim. An unforgivable act, certainly, but not one of murder. It would. Sure, okay. You're right, stabbing someone in the back is not an act of murder. Crime rests on the accused's shoulders. That is how the law works, you see, yokel. Who knows, you may even learn something here today. Two consecutive attempts at her life in the space of minutes. Quite a day for the victim. Do something that evil and you got it coming. That's how the law works. The law of reckoning. It's not the kind of law this court upholds. You will reiterate why you were compelled to stab the victim and witness that which we know.
Hold it!
What exactly were they arguing about? Oh, what happened in that restaurant 9 months ago? That's what. The student girl was laying into the Englishwoman for killing her beloved mentor, Dr. Wilson. Yes, John H. Wilson, a professor of medicine, invited here from England by Professor Mikotoba, no less. Right, but the Englishwoman just jeered. Her case was to be heard by the British Consular Court in Shanghai. However, they were just going to let her go. They suck. There's little doubt that she would simply have been acquitted and sent back to her homeland a free woman. Yeah, very, very, very little doubt. It was eating that student girl up inside. You could see it. I literally felt for it. I can't stand here and listen to this tripe. Ray. Young girl, you stand accused here. You can't just blurt out whatever you feel like it. No, you can't. Sorry, but I'm in the middle of some very important testimony here. Just keep quiet and listen. But this awful man is making all of this up. Susato, please, you have to make them listen. Turn to the dock at once, Mbami-san. They're in the middle of a cross-examination. Your Excellency, please, I implore you. That journalist is clearly not a trustworthy witness. I mean, yes, clearly. Exactly. He's a filthy, rotten, black-hearted, bigoted, dirty great peeping Tom. Whoa, take it easy there. Please, I really think the court should hear what the defense has to say. Your Excellency, I see no need whatsoever to entertain the accused's remarks. I'll grant the request of the defense. This is likely to be the final cross-examination of these proceedings. As such, I believe it would be ill-advised to stifle the defendant's obvious concerns. So, whilst recognizing that this contravenes regular protocol, I hereby call upon the defendant to speak. Oh. Thank you so much, Your Excellency. It's with Dr. Wilson. We were discussing the stolen poison.
Hold it!
The stolen poison that killed the victim, you mean? I suspected her being the one to steal it. I mean, just think about how she killed Dr. Wilson. It's true. Additionally, Miss Brett certainly had a knowledge of her new position. But surely it would be no easy task to steal a highly secret toxin being developed for the government. Not when you can literally get away with murder and nobody pays attention to anything you do because you're untouchable. Or somebody else does, I guess. Indeed, all visitors to the laboratory are thoroughly searched when they leave. Even if the thief managed to avoid being seen by myself or a colleague, getting the poison out would be very difficult. I mean, unless you smuggled it out in a pack. Hypothetically. That's true. I bested Professor Mikotoba until he agreed to show me the poison when I visited the laboratory. Once I left, I was searching from top to tail. Miss Brett rather bluntly revealed the existence of the old toxin we've been developing, you see. And since Soseki-san expressed such an interest in it, I felt unable to refuse. Obviously, it gave nothing away other than the fact that it was an extremely potent substance. I'm very ashamed of myself. It's just that I've had enough terrible learning experiences with a deadly poison. Yeah, he has. Oh, look at my old enemy in the eye. Surely you can understand that. To find out if my suspicions were true, I confronted Miss Brett about the poison. Told her that if there were to be an accident involving it somehow, it wouldn't just be the university. The military would be dragged into it, the whole government even. It would be like a complicated disaster. And how did Miss Brett respond to your concerns? She just curled those beautiful lips of hers and said she didn't know the first thing about it. In English, actually. Ah, yes. Minimemo-san, one small question, if you don't mind. I do mind. Can't you see I'm busy? Clearly you were outside the beach hut listening in while the defendant and Miss Brett were conversing. Presumably then, it was you who wrote this article about what you'd heard. Exclusive, deadly poison stolen from Yume Medical Research Laboratory. The story was published in this morning's edition of Shoyu News. Details are too accurate for it to have been written by anyone else. Sorry, don't know what you're talking about. Yes, look at this. The entire article. It's almost what I said to Miss Brett, word for word. Well, Minimemo-san? Sorry. As a journo and as a citizen of a free country, I don't have to reveal my sources. That's a founding principle of Mini-Memoism. But only you have to follow the rules. Other people don't. Author's clearly right about this. That reporter did write that article, and he based it on what he overheard from outside the hut door, or the hut. Details of the poison article have been updated. Really? Updated to what? Oh, it just updated it to... Okay. By... So that's what it was all about. You're trying to cover up the fact that you were listening in. That's why you came up with that stinking story about me arguing with her. Shut up. My stories never stink. Look, whatever you say, little girl, doesn't alter the facts. Your Excellency, there's something I want to say, and I want it to go on record. Very well. May I amend your formal testimony? He's doing good. He's doing fine. Well, perhaps you doubted the efficacy of the poison, sought to make sure your victim would die. That's horse dung. What? That would be like pouring pepper on your Chinese ramen before you'd even tasted it. Completely reckless. Although it might surprise you to learn that I am a bit of an impetuous pepper horror as it happens. Once the victim had taken the poison, she would have been only minutes away from death. And yet this man then proceeded to stab her in the back as well. has to have been a good reason for that. If it was the reporter who gave the poison to Miss Brett, then clearly he must have done it prior to Ray entering the hut. Yes, that's undeniable. But between him leaving the hut and the victim being stabbed, there's one very crucial change in the situation. Sorry? What change? The reporter overheard the conversation between Ray and the Englishman. Ah, yes, that's it. That's when Minnie Memo-san first found out the exact nature of the poison he used. That could be the key here. Oh. He used the poison, but you may not realize, wait, there's a telltale sign for that. I should stab them first.
It's ramen.
I don't have much time. Also, Ramen, how's it going? Welcome to Viperland in the chat. How you doing? The victim had unwittingly taken the poison already. The reporter would have had no reason to stab her. On the face of it, that logic sounds entirely reasonable. There's no question that this man was responsible for Mrs. Brett's murder. No. Yeah, okay, yes. I was about to say, Sora has been trying to impersonate you, correct? Typing's for fools anyways. That said, if it goes on sale, there is a typing game I'd like to stream. I might nab it. I'm definitely going to keep an eye out. Don't worry, it's fine. If you took Typing of the Dead, Etrian Odyssey, and like a Stanley Parable narrator, and blended them all together with the visual style of almost the Obra Dinn, yeah, Cryptmaster. 100%. I've only heard a little bit about it, but as soon as I heard that, I was like, that would make a fun stream or two, wouldn't it? I don't know. I think it would. I only know the barest bits, but it seems fun. Feel sure that everything would drop into place. That's what we should be looking for. Yes, I agree. And in order to do that, I must try to glean more information. Okay. I heard about it from, Mandalore Games. He did a review on it, but he kept, like, very spoiler light. So I went through all this. What is it? Okay, so the things that were changed were we were discussing the poison. The poison. Small amount to the body, your mouth or wound from poisonous blade will prove fatal in minutes. Current methods cannot detect the newly developed chemical. University would have consulted. Yeah, it's because of the pupil thing. He thought it would be untraceable and he wouldn't get caught. But then the pupil thing is like, oh damn, they'd be able to notice that. I was mad earlier, Ramen, because I absolutely gave the right answer, but they were like, it's wrong. They were like, where's photographic proof that somebody could definitely stick a knife through the back of the reeds of this tent? And I showed this photograph, you know, where he stuck the camera lens through the reeds of the back of the tent. They were like, no. Obviously, it's this photograph where you could see a little light through it. It's like, you jammed an entire camera lens. An 1800s camera lens through there, and you're telling me that was wrong. Little peeved about that. Little bit peeved. That should have been right. You should have been able to do either of them. Like, I'm not saying this one was wrong. I'm saying they should have both been right. That's it. That's all. I'm also going to say the poison article here
Objection!
is the answer. Well, I can think of one reason. What? But before I explain, I'd like you to confirm something for the court. Excuse me. Did you glean all of the information for this newspaper article from what you overheard inside the hut? Of course you did. There can be no question of that. After all, when we were all in the laboratory together, all we were told is that it was a terrible toxin. There's one more important fact to consider. Suppose you're trying to... That's true. It is all magic, but still, you could literally see the fact that there was a camera, like, lens-sized opening in the reeds, because some of the reeds was still in the picture. Like, it's not stretching things. I'd argue it's stretching things less than the obvious knife-shaped hole. But, whatever. According to the witness, Membami-san's verbal attack against the victim began as soon as she entered the hut. In other words, it would have been impossible for her to have slipped the poison into Miss Brett's drink.
Objection!
Where are you going with this, counsel? Well, I mean, even if we just stopped it would be impossible for her to slip the poison into the drink. Wouldn't that already be a really strong thing? Minimamo-san has made it quite clear that he observed every single thing that happened in the beach hut. If the defendant had somehow found an opportunity, this man would have seen it. Which means that Miss Brett couldn't have imbibed the poison whilst the defendant was present. In fact, it must have been administered to her before Membami-san entered the hut. Yes, very acutely put. When I walked into the hut, I immediately started to press Miss Brett about the poison. At which point, Minimamo-san overheard some worrying information. Worrying information? What worrying information? The information which he subsequently included in his newspaper article, namely, that the poison was being developed in strict secrecy and that it couldn't be readily obtained. Absolutely. In fact, that's quite an understatement. The only possible place it could come from is my lab. And furthermore... anyone afflicted by the poison would exhibit telltale signs in death. The extreme constriction of the pupils, yes, it's quite stark when you see it. There are other poisons that show similar symptoms, but not among new substances that are undetectable. In other words, it would be clear that the victim's life had been ended by the use of this particular poison, which would reduce the number of suspects to only a handful of people. Ugh. Everyone in my laboratory is aware of the unique properties of the toxin we've been developing. None of them would be foolish enough to attempt to use it for some nefarious deed. Membami-san being no exception. Therefore, we can conclude that whoever administered this unique poison to the victim was a layperson unaware of its telltale properties. In other words, someone like you, right in Minimamo. Yeah. Oh, his hat. It was you who stole the poison from the laboratory that day. It was you who administered it to the unwitting victim. But you quickly realized that was a terrible mistake, because the poison caused such unusual symptoms and was so traceable. As you listened in from the far side of the beach hut's thin walls, you learnt of these facts. You'd already given the victim the poison at that point. It was too late. So you hatched a plan to disguise your mistake. A plan that involved stabbing the victim in the back through the reed screen. But what good could that possibly do? Well, you were about to call him innocent. It is so frustrating to have somebody be like, yeah, I tried to kill her, but somebody got to her first. It's also, and then for the court to be like, oh, yeah, innocent, wasn't him, definitely not him. It's also equally as interesting. I feel like this is the first time we have had somebody straight up admit, just like, yeah, I tried to kill her. 100% I tried to kill her. She was the worst. She needed to die. I tried to kill her. But someone succeeded first, so I'm innocent. Isn't it obvious, Counsel? You literally were just trying to... The plan was to kill Miss Brett before the poison could take effect. Once in the blood, the poison causes the onset of pupil constriction, but he had hoped to precipitate the victim's death before that happened, hadn't he? Exactly. Because without any revealing signs of the new secret poison use, no one would ever have suspected. This is extraordinary. Yes, the effects of the poison meant it would be too easily identified, so the killer had to mask its use, which he attempted to do by plunging a knife into the middle of the victim's back. It's fairly... Order! 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 The argument presented is sound. The court is satisfied that it warrants consideration. Good. Does the prosecution have a counter-argument it wishes to put forward? Well, does sweating profusely count as a counter-argument? There are a number of... I mean, yes, I counter completely.
Objection!
The prosecution's evasive response clearly shows that in much the same way as he nurtures the remnants of his top knot, he is clinging to lost hope. Lost hope! Not the hand! Ah, you pathetic, useless, fallen samurai! Fallen? Who are you calling fallen? My burden. I don't need a counter-argument. What are you talking about? It should be blatantly obvious. I stole the poison, you say. Gave it to the victim, you say. Stabbed her, you say. No, to be fair, you said you stabbed her. We also said you stabbed her, but you also, like... You definitely said you stabbed her. You definitely said that you stabbed her. Like, I'm not scrolling up. Lots of fine things. I don't need a counter-argument because you don't have an argument yourself. Where's your evidence? Yes, we can all sound so plausible, don't you? But without evidence, it means nothing. Whereas I base my news on facts. Facts? What do you mean? Explain yourself. I mean what the professor said earlier in this trial. It's all here in my many memos. Every word, every slip of the tongue, all noted. That's what the Shoyu News is famous for. It's the power of the printed word. How's that then? Blowing the story wide open? No. See, I, right in many memo, a mere reporter from the Shoyu News, couldn't possibly have stolen that poison from the professor's laboratory. I still say, if you wanted to make these games 100 times shorter, just have a giant splinter in that wall behind them and just wait for like a shocking comment to happen. There can't be any question of it. He must have stolen the poison that day. He stole it and used it to kill. And if that's the case, as you've identified, the poison itself is the definitive evidence we need. Because whoever stole it from the laboratory that day is the true culprit here. What's your point, you annoyingly handsome country bumpkin? Annoyingly handsome. My point is this. There is one way that you, Minimemo-san, could have stolen the poison that day. Put on a verbal conjunction now. Thank you. What the court must be shown is evidence. What proof do you have that this witness stole the poison on the day in question?
Objection!
I think it's the pen, right? There's liquid in there, but it's not water, or it's not ink. Also, I don't think we have anything else that could possibly fit the bill, unless that makes it turn blue, in which case the thing on his hand would really, you know, be damning. I'm gonna go with the pen.
Take that!
Because that's what my gut says. The proof, Your Excellency, is this fountain pen. Ugh. I did, yeah. I definitely didn't forget until I was literally typing into Twitch the stream name and whatnot, and then go, oh crap, and then quickly add them in. But you know, you couldn't prove whether I did it then or if I did it an hour before or a day ago. You'll never know. I never said when I'd add it, other than before stream today. And it is there, so you know. Cool. Fountain pen, how can that possibly be relevant? These magical pens somehow seem to have enough ink to write many thousands of kanji characters. I believe they arrived in our country for the first time some 15 years ago now. I swear by a weasel hair calligraphy brush and nothing else. Of course the weasel would only use a weasel. These newfangled pens are merely a fad. What? A fad? Not having to carry around an actual, like, inkwell with you everywhere you go when you wanted to write something? People were going to be like, yeah, I missed that. Yeah. Like, I get that older generations will always look at younger generations and be like, oh, that's stupid, I don't get it, it's a fad. But, like, at some point convenience wins out. It just does. Well, as a forward-thinking man of words, obviously I love my fountain pen. Suck up a soup cone of sumptuous ink, and one's work is awash with words in the blink of an eye. You know what? Clearly what that needs is...
That's soup!
That's right. Fountain pens have a small reservoir in the barrel, into which ink is sucked up through the nib of the pen in order to write with later. What does all this talking of sucking up ink have... Just as it's possible to suck ink up into the reservoir, it's also possible to eject it through the nib again, of course. My word. Can this really be? Well, Minimemo-san... When you saw the deadly poison before your eyes in the laboratory that day, you used your fountain pen, your very lifeblood, to steal some of it, didn't you? By siphoning the poison up through the nib and into the pen's reservoir. Oh yeah, he already threw away his hat, so... More absurdity. That never happened. How do you know? Where's your proof, huh? True, we've heard that there were procedures in place to prevent thefts like this from the laboratory. But would anyone have thought to look inside a fountain pen of all places? No, I'm a little ashamed to say that for fear of offending our guests, such a detailed search would not have been conducted. Well, this is quite startling, I must say. Remind the court that this pen was found in the clutches of the victim when she died. In other words, it was dropped at the scene by Minimemo-san. So the crucial question is, when exactly was the pen dropped? Are you suggesting? The natural conclusion is that in your haste to act whilst the victim was distracted for a moment, you dropped the pen after you emptied the poison from it into her glass.
Objection!
There could be any number of alternative explanations. For example, the witness could have been using his pen to write down details of his conversation with the victim. And when shocked by one of her outrageous answers, the pen fell from his quivering hand.
Objection!
No, that can't be. If it was, how do you explain why the pen was devoid of ink? What? As you can see for yourself if you examine the evidence, there would appear to be no ink present in the reservoir. What newspaper reporter goes to interview someone with nothing in his pen? No, the pen was dropped after the poison that filled its reservoir had been emptied into the victim's glass. Witness, what do you have to say in your defense? Ah, so this is how our modern justice system works, is it? So what if the ink in my pen runs dry? So what if my pencil snaps? Can always claw my way back into the game. I have plenty in reserve. Yeah. You claim I sucked the poison up into my pen? That's wild speculation, nothing more. You thought you could bring down a fine, upstanding citizen who 100% admitted to stabbing her, a young woman, also on peeping on them in the changing room. With a trick like that, think again! Looks as though it's going to take one final decisive blow to finish this matter. As I see it, the situation is now very simple. Rests upon whether or not this witness did indeed steal the poison on the day in question. And therefore, it all depends upon whether or not the defense can prove that he did with evidence. No such evidence could possibly exist. Remember-san, this is how our modern justice system works. What? In the courtroom, evidence is everything. Something you would do well to remember. Because we are well past the point of speculation at this stage, I assure you. Very well then, I call upon the defense to present the aforementioned evidence. This is it, then. This will be the final piece of the puzzle. The defense can prove, by means of this item, that it was the witness's pen that was used to steal the poison. Ooh. It's gotta be this. We haven't used it yet, and we can test for the poison.
Take that!
Counsel, what is that bottle? This bottle contains a unique chemical reagent that can identify the poison in question. Yes, the poison is an entirely new synthesis of alkaloids developed by my colleagues and I. It would be impossible to detect traces of it by any other method. Or, from another perspective, simply with this chemical reagent, anybody at all could check for traces of the poison. A reagent? What? One drop of the contents of this bottle on the tip of your fountain pen, Minimomo-san, is all it will take to solve this case beyond all reasonable doubt. No, you can't. I won't. Your crimes are bad enough, but at least know when to admit defeat. Your Excellency, the defense requests permission to carry out the test on the fountain pen at once. Oh no. This isn't my fault. The Empire drove me to this, trying to hold its head high as civilization, but now he's had foreign power. I took up arms formed by Japan and fought tirelessly on the battlefield, all in the name of justice and righteousness and environmentalism. Susanoo, with me! I'm there. You just shouted out her name uh, to the whole courtroom. Did I do it right? That was a suicidal takedown, wasn't it? Not quite. That was a Ryutaro takedown. Good. Snap his wrist and throw him. The instant the first drop of the rage had touched the nib of the fountain pen, it was clear to everyone present. When I saw it there in the lab, poison. Poison for Cusco. Cusco's poison. The devil got a hold of me and I decided to do it on a whim. Excused myself and emptied all the ink down the sink in the bathroom, washing the reservoir out carefully. And you waited for an opportunity to suck up some of the poison, did you? Into your fountain pen. Yeah, that's right. Answer me one thing, Mini Memo-san. Why did you steal it? For what purpose? Murder! Why would you steal the poison unless you poisoned somebody? Isn't it obvious? To find out what it was made of, expose it in an article. I mean, that and murder! I mean, it was a secret project for all. Too spicy for a journal like me to pass up. Wow. Okay, so... I mean, I guess when you've already been found guilty of murder, admitting to planning to steal company secrets isn't as strong of a negative, but it ain't good. Then why did the English woman end up dead? Went to that hut intended to quiz her on her situation, that's all. As a reporter. A known killer enjoying full freedom, evading justice by leaving the country. I told her what I thought about it. And she just laughed in my face. Yeah, that sounds like her. Oh, what's this? A Far Eastern caveman propounding to practice journalism? Really, you must learn the difference between reporting and listening at doorways, you ignorant plebeian. What did you call me? This country with its pretensions to a justice system, to free press, it's really very disappointing. You see our superior ways in the West, yet you lack the mental capacity to emulate them. Get out of here, you oaf. Get out and crawl back into the cave you came from. Yeah. That's what I remembered. About the deadly poison I happened to have in my pen at the time. What a terrible tale. In my head, I knew I should just get out of there as quickly as possible, but I couldn't. I couldn't let her get away with what she'd done, and she clearly had no remorse at all. I suppose it was my journalist spirit, getting all fired up. I mean, your journalistic spirit was like, poison her. As you do. Your average murderer/journalist. I'd like to ask you something. Yes? You often talk about justice. I guess I haven't. See, at least Frank West only killed, you know, people who shot or chainsawed at him first and zombies, so that didn't count. But surely as a journalist, you could have used other means to deliver the justice you sought. There's no justice in the press. I mean, yeah. Sorry? After that trial 9 months ago, I kept digging and digging to find out what had happened in that courtroom. And finally, I discovered the truth. It was a cover-up! That's what it was. Cover-up? What do you mean? I would remind you of your position, witness. Be careful of what you say. No, come on! Doesn't it strike you as strange? We're suddenly not allowed to convict a foreign national. Consular jurisdiction should never have come into it. And yet that puffed-up Englishwoman was going to sail away into the sunset, a free woman.
It's ramen.
I mean, it is also ramen. And yet that puffed-up Englishwoman was going to sail away into the sunset, a free woman. The only possible explanation is that behind the scenes, some deal had gone down between Britain and Japan. I mean, no doubt. What sort of deal? I'd done my research, dug up all the dirt. It was all ready to be published. But you know what happened? The editor just tore the article up. Came under pressure from the government, you mean? Our government is going to let criminals walk free. They're going to crush the free press. And what choice do I have but to see that justice is done myself? Is he playing it like being a vigilante superhero? Murdered them, but did it for vigilante justice. Let's not forget, Minamemo-san, that you committed murder yourself, and you tried to lay the blame at the defendant's door. I'm sorry, but you're no better than Josiah Brand. What? The truth is, you have no right to talk about justice at all. I suppose. It would appear that we have reached a conclusion in this trial at last. Counsel for the defense, Ryutaro Naruhodo. Oh. Ah, yes. Sorry, Your Excellency. Just missing in a manly way here, amusing in a manly way here. It's almost unbelievable this is your first experience of the Supreme Court. It's an excellent performance. In truth, it very much reminded me of your cousin's exploits. Oh, Naruhodo. Ryunosuke, you mean? The way he handled the trial 9 months ago and the way you handled this one gives me hope that we are genuinely entering a new era of justice in this land. It's very flattering, Your Excellency. Hearing the defense you put forward today made me feel most keenly that the future of our justice system will be forged by you and your compatriots. Thank you. So, Prosecutor Ouchi, do you have any final thoughts? Prosecutor Ouchi. I, Takasuchi of the Ouchi clan, have been bested by a callow youth not once before, but twice. If there was any shred of my former self left, it is withered and died here today. Well, maybe your former self sucked and you can take this time to go on and be a bigger, better person. Gosh, your journey to cultured enlightenment sure took a while, didn't it? Silence. Rather than living on in shame, I will end it all now with this blade. For that is the true path of Ouchiism. Ouchiism? One hopes that that's the only way in which he'll be modeling himself after the witness. Sprig of my topknot, the time is right for farewell. Hope is lost forever. Takatsuchi. brings out a full-on, like, finger-cutting board straight from Yakuza to trim a little swirl of hair. Well, rip that swirl of hair. Now, in regard to the defendant, Rei Minbami-san. Yes, Your Excellency. I have reached my final verdict. I hereby find you not guilty. Yay! And so, we've succeeded in finding the murderer guilty and judo throwing him. 2 people. Court is adjourned. I'm a lawyer. First case done. Easy peasy. We got nothing wrong. Except for that one thing that I truly, truly believe was the game's fault. We're ignoring part 1. We got a lot wrong with part 1. But, you know. What struggle? The only thing I got wrong today was one that should have worked. Again, we're not talking about last week. We're talking about today. Today. It's a tutorial, yeah. And in that tutorial, that other photo should have worked. It wasn't a struggle. No, nothing happened last week. Nothing happened last week. 13th August, 2:38 p.m., Supreme Court, Defendant's Antechamber 3. It's over. My heart is still pounding in my chest, though. It's all I can do just to stay standing. Lawyers have such great responsibility, such a great burden to bear. Don't they, Naruhodo-san? Susato! Thank you so much. You were so dashing in there. Rei and Father. Honestly, I'm so touched by everything you've... Oh no. I think I'm going to cry. It wasn't easy, but together, we made it. It's on the verge of tears at the end, too. The only reason I'm still here is because of you. Oh no, I can't take all the credit. It took courage to tell the truth in there. You did wonderfully, Rei. So I would have to say that the congratulations belongs to you. Susato, don't be so standoffish. Sorry? We're friends, equals, and the trial's over, so no more of this formal super humility nonsense. It's time to celebrate with swagger, to throw caution to the wind. Caution to the... what? I am the great defense lawyer Ryutaro Naruhodo, and I'm taking you out to a milk bar tomorrow. Or something. Right, I see. I'll, think of it. Rei, we're not taking you out on a date. At any rate, we really knocked the wind out of that horrid man, and it felt so good. Yes, it was satisfying. It really was. Is there anybody else we could throw together? I hope you're not looking at me, Rei. Oh my goodness, no, of course not. Of course not. Ah, there it is at last. Rei's lovely smile. You fought for your friend to the very last. As your father, I'm extremely proud of you. Defense attorney Ryutaro Naruhodo. Thank you. I couldn't have done it without your help. Anyway, it's time to bid farewell to Ryutaro, I think. I shall miss him in a way, but it's back to Susato Mikotoba now. So, I'll never see him again then. What a terrible shame. What? What is happening? Ah, Soseki-san and Inspector Hosonaga. I do hope you've been keeping well. Is that really you? Yes, I had to change my appearance for, well, obvious reasons, I hope, but it's me. Susato Mikotoba. I don't... So dashing, so... I love that she just looks so good in the suit that people You just can't resist the charge. My best friend cross-dressed to save my life in court, and I need to ask them out. Oh, is there something in 14? What? I don't know if my brain can process that right now. I'll watch that later. I don't know if I can process that currently. Unless it's a dedicated fishing app, in which case 10 stars, 20 stars, 30 stars, 100 stars out of 5. So dashing, so divine, no! Like, it's causing him to tremble, it's causing him to continue bleeding from the mouth, and it definitely caused the photographer to be like, you are shockingly handsome. Oh. How? I mean, cool, but how? I mean, it's not unheard of to have, like, mobile MMOs. I mean, I can play RuneScape on my phone and RuneScape on my computer, and it's the same game for the most part. The combat works slightly different on the phone just because fewer buttons, but, like, 14's a little harder. But hey, you know, cool. If it's on the same subscription, I'll give it a shot. If it's a separate system where it's going to be free to play, but all these other stuff, nah, it's okay. That's fine. If I want to replay through 14, I'll just go to New Game Plus. So cool. That's weird. It's also not shocking at all to have a trailer that shows nothing. Especially for a mobile game, but like in general. No! Doubly dashing, yes! And devilishly divine, just look at you! I had no idea, Miss Usada-san Esquires, that you were locum student Naruhodo-san Esquire's cousin. Astonishingly astounding ace attorney! Poor Soseki-san, so confused. Still remember the first time I ever met him. He was in a prison cell in London. An extraordinary conundrum it was that the unwitting student from Japan found himself embroiled in. But after Naruhodo-san's skillful defense at the Old Bailey, Soseki-san was free to return to Japan. And now he seems to have earned himself great fame as an author. In like a few months. Crazy. Stunned. That's truly impressive. That's a truly impressive disguise. Is it? It was just a male student outfit and the hair tied back. Was it really like... Okay. Even I had no idea. And I'm a chief inspector at the police bureau who came up with Mr. Turtles, no less. Is he even... Have we ever established that he's actually good at his job? Not sure you should be admitting to that, Inspector. Amazing. You're a woman of many faces, I see. Just two, really. And this is a once-in-a-lifetime event, I hope. Oh, I'm not a patch on... Oh, I'm not a patch on you, though, Inspector. Well, I am a professional, of course. Oh, well. 88 months fishing time. Okay, so clearly you gotta get a good fish. Clearly. One target. It still could be good. Also, hey, 7th. A starfish. Okay, you know. It's a fish.
Happy Heckin' 69 plus 19 months Viper.
It's 69 plus 19. Holy crap. So many months. So many months. Thank you for the support. Ongoing support. Long-time support. Hope you're still enjoying, you know, all the Viperland goodies and oddities and strangities and this guy coughing up blood with a turtle on his head. You know, all the normal stuff. And of course, welcome to Viperland in the chat. Hope you're having a good early week. kind of just a normal week over here this week. Next week will be a slightly different week, but excuse me. This week's kind of just a week. I do worry about Inspector Hosonaga sometimes. I really do. What was it? The coughing up blood? Is that no? You mean you worry about him because he just acts a bit weird? I think it's the coughing up blood that would make me worry. It's the constant coughing up blood. 9 months ago, when we first met him, he was also coughing up blood. When he appeared here at the Supreme Court to testify, he was undercover, disguised as the head waiter of a restaurant. And then on a steamship to Great Britain, of course, disguised as a sailor to keep us safe on the journey. Which worked, yeah. Though that didn't help you, did it, Kazuma-sama? It didn't. And again, we're just going to skip over the constant blood coughing. From my perspective, I have to admit that I have mixed feelings about all this. I mean, now the truth has been lost forever. What do you mean? Talking about the murder that the English woman committed at the end of last year. Ah yes, it was an English doctor she killed, as I understand it. Dr. John H. Wilson, yes. The man I invited to Japan personally. The mystery is, why did she kill him? And now that the culprit herself is dead, we'll probably never know the answer. On the voyage to Great Britain, we had a most unexpected encounter with Mr. Herlock Sholmes, the great detective, I mean. Yes, I remember Mr. Sholmes well, of course. Ah, my arch nemesis, how lightly you utter his name. Well, according to the stories published about him in the Adventures of Herlock Sholmes, the detective once had a partner who helped him solve crimes, a best friend. And that man was an exceptional doctor of medicine by the name of John H. Wilson. What? Dr. Wilson? I just can't believe that it's a coincidence. I think that the English doctor of medicine killed here in Japan 9 months ago must have been the friend and partner of Mr. Sholmes. And if that's really true, then the poor girl won't ever see her beloved father again. Yeah. As you know, I traveled to Great Britain once myself to study. It was around the time you were born. Yes, grandmother told me about it. On returning to Japan, I took up my professorship at the Imperial Yumei University, but I also serve another role as an advisor to the government on diplomatic affairs. Yes, I was aware of that as well. In that case, I'm sure you understand that there are some confidential matters I cannot divulge to you. Could you just tell me one thing? Why did you summon me back to Japan? It's been 2 months now since I returned. When I left England, it was because an urgent telegram had arrived from Japan. It said that you'd collapsed with a high fever and you were growing weaker by the day. What? Where did that news come from? That's what I'd like to know, because after that long sea voyage, I found you in fine health, Father. Was there something in Great Britain that you perceived might inconvenience me in some way, or harm me? It's really the only explanation I can think of. Dear me, do you reserve your most cutting glares for your father, Susanoo? Sorry, my dear, I simply can't... Oh, let me go! White, don't let him go. He's a murderer, convicted and admittedly so. Minimemo-san! So, one throw wasn't enough for you. Got one last thing to say before they take me away. Professor! Me? I know the truth. I know you had a hand in what went on. And the visiting student's fate. Visiting student? Giselle Brett, you mean? No, not her! The student of law who left for Great Britain 8 months ago. What? Student of law? He must mean Kazuma-san. What are you talking about? What does any of this have to do with Kazuma-san? Nobody here in Japan knows anything about it. They don't know that the guy never made it to England, that he died on the steamship, and that he'll never... Well, I didn't expect to find him in here. What were you officers playing at? Terribly sorry, Your Excellency. Oh, so there's some definite corrupt bullcrap going down on both sides then. Cool. Because let's be honest, there's some bullcrap going on in London. But I was always just like, okay, well that's where the bullcrap's going on. We're not even in Japan long enough for there to be bullcrap going on. But there's bullcrap going on. I want to tell you that the rickshaw has arrived, Fusion. And it's a good job I came by. Yes, thank you for dealing with him. I'll be there shortly. Oh, Your Excellency. Ah, ha ha. The trial's over. I'm not Your Excellency anymore, merely your father's friend. Seishiro Jigoku? There must be puns in these names too, and I'm just not figuring them out. May I say that since I saw you last, you seem to have taken on a more dashing appearance. Susato. Did you know all along from the start of the trial? Ha 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 ha. Judge sees everything, Susato. Couldn't let you take the risk. If Seishiro here hadn't known, then he'd recognize you. So I had a word in his ear beforehand, as an old friend. So, Seishiro, shall we? Yes, having ruled on the case, we now have various diplomatic issues to address. Before you go, Father. Sorry, my dear. We shall have to return to our earlier conversation at a later date, or never. We could also just never talk about it. Just never. Well done again, both of you. You did admirably. Hopefully you'll just forget about the implication that I was involved in the murder of... Oh, thank you very much. What do you think of my Seishiro sling? It's been a while since I sent him out flying like that. Does every single person in the law offices of Japan know how to just chuck a dude like 100 yards? Oh, I was just assuming, I just assumed that any of the names have some sort of pun or meaning behind them that I just don't get as somebody who doesn't understand Japanese. Whatever could Father be hiding from me? About Josiah Brett, about Dr. Wilson. Now it seems, according to the reporter, about Kazuma-sama. Oh, okay. Gotcha. That would do it. I'm going to have to bring this up with Father sometime. Yeah, she was called back under false pretense in an emergency. The reporter may have murdered somebody, but like... he murdered somebody who really sucked. And also... I was going to say he doesn't like to lie, which is true, but we only know that from his own admission. Maybe he loves lying. I don't know. Not for nothing, he did have a lot of info. There's some suspicious stuff here. I'm sure when you bring it up with him, he'll just answer all the questions, right? When nobody else is around. Yeah, I'm sure he'll just answer all your questions. Judicial Assistant Mikotoba-san, Esquire S. Could I, have a word? Oh, yes, of course, Soseki-san. What is it? I think perhaps it could be fate that we're meeting again like this now. You see, there's something I need to tell you. Oh? I believe that it may be related to the reason why your father summoned you back from England. Oh. This I have to hear. Please, Soseki-san, tell me at once. Oh, ow, 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 ow. As you know, my time in England was terrible. Cursed, I have no doubt. Such awful things I was embroiled in. Thank goodness the locum student Naruhodo-san Esquire stepped in. After he secured my freedom, I couldn't wait to get on a ship back here to my homeland. Having arrived in Japan, I submitted a report about my experiences to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. The next thing I knew, I had a visitor. It was your father, Professor Mikotoba. He wanted to ask me all sorts of things about my report. Father? He seemed to be especially taken with a particular part of the report. Anyway, he left eventually, having thoroughly quizzed me. It was the very next day that he sent the telegram to you asking you to return to Japan. What was it? What was it then? The particular part my father was interested in. I don't really know exactly. He seemed to be especially taken with a particular part of the report. I don't know exactly. Which is it, man? You can't pull that bullcrap.
Fishing.
You seem really interested in one part of one part of the letter. What part? Oh, I don't even think he was actually into... Oh, double tug. Oh. A turtle! There you go. Perfect. I don't really know exactly. But do you remember them? Those two terrible cases I was caught up in? Of course, I can never forget. Your father seemed to concern himself mainly with the second case. Second one? You mean... the one Mr. Sholmes forbade any of us to talk about in public? Which is why the only case involving you that any member of the public is aware of is the first? Well, I don't care! I don't have to listen to what the dastardly detective says! Anyway, the point is, seems that case somehow holds the key to all these curious unanswered questions. Excuse me. Horrific, heinous case. The case of the haunted lodgings. The case somehow caused my father to summon me urgently back to Japan? I thought the whole business was over. Seems I was wrong. Perhaps that was only the start. Perhaps the story is not yet told. I mean, maybe. Probably not. The game probably just ends here. It's the logical way to do it.
So, the mystery of that English woman's death is solved, thank goodness. And having stood in the Supreme Court now, I think I can comprehend a little better. How you must be feeling as you fight for people's freedom in a foreign land, Naruhodo-san. But actually, I'm writing to you today because of another matter. I met Soseki-san and we talked about that second case he was involved in. Father has said nothing to me, but I feel certain of it. That case holds the key to some great unsolved mystery. My notes on the case should still be in the office, tucked away at the back of the shelves on the left. Perhaps you might like to look over them again. Today, for the first time this year, it feels as though summer has arrived. The sky is a brilliant blue. It makes me long to see you again. Yours, Susato.
Again, yeah, see? The game ends. It's a logical ending point, I understand. Susato success. Yeah, I guess we can save the current progress, maybe. Probably a decent idea. The Memoirs of the Clouded Kokoro. Tellio. Like an hour? Yeah, no. Those days are gone. Those days are gone.
It was a ghastly tale of a winter's night. One of an invisible killer and a crime perpetrated on the pavement along Briar Road. As the victim lay at death's door, the mystery of
Also,
just
Kane,
who
how's it
had
going?
stabbed
Welcome
the
back to
young
Lennon
lady
Chat.
from behind
How
had
you doing
been
tonight?
resolved. But no sooner had
Is that
my
the
friend
14
saved
mobile
that Eastern
video?
exchange student from
I haven't
his
actually watched it
harrowing
yet.
plight.
But it's in the
Then
Discord
dim,
already, and I'm just
flickering
gonna watch it after
shadows of
stream.
gaslight did a
I kind of
second
figured.
bizarre crime
Yeah,
rend the
I've
stillness
heard. I
of
haven't
that
seen
very
it yet, but I was
night.
gonna watch it after stream.
I dare say most can still recall the sensational headlines of the day.
I'm
Haunted
intrigued,
apartment of
but I'm
death,
also already playing
condemned
14.
criminal's curse, the dread demon of coal gas.
Like, if they pull if they somehow
Though the great detective had at once discerned the truth upon his
pull
arrival
like a
at the scene,
Jagex with RuneScape where I can just play it on the phone, but with
it
like
only proved to be the
reduced
overture that
controls,
announced
there are
the
things I could
rising
easily
of the
farm. I could do more
Curlew on a
fishing.
most tragic
Imagine
day.
never missing a fishing like window again, because you could just take your phone out for 5 minutes and just, you know, tap to fish. Or I don't know, you got 10 minutes, you don't want to sign into your computer, but you could get some like mining done or something like that. I mean, there's still some 3 a.m. windows, yes, but that's just pain and suffering. That's just fishing. My name is Ryunosuke Naruhodo. I'm a fledgling lawyer just starting out on my journey. But if it's going to be a separate game, it holds no interest to me. If I ever want to go through parts of 14 again, I'm just going to do New Game Plus in 14. So it depends on where, like, how they implement it and what they're doing with it. We'll see. I'm curious, I'll keep an eye on it. But I'm not like, oh, this is going to be something I need at this point. 6 months ago, I arrived as a visiting student of law. I made the long voyage across the sea from the Empire of Japan to here, London, England. And on the way, in quite extraordinary circumstances, I made the acquaintance of a world-famous detective. Currently, I reside in the attic of the detective's own lodgings, where I run my legal consultancy of sorts. I've successfully defended a number of clients in Britain's highest court, the Old Bailey. But since a particularly grueling and unforgettable legal battle 4 months ago now, I haven't returned to the courtroom. In truth, I lost my right to return. But that epic trial was just one small part of an epic tale, a tale which was now about to awaken from slumber. Thanks to a letter that arrived this morning from my homeland. What a delicious smell wafting up from the stairs. Must be near the time for breakfast. I'd better go down to Mr. Sholmes' suite and say good morning to the great detective and his flatmate. th of August, 7:28 a.m., Sholmes' suite. Ah, Bruno, good. I was just about to call up to you. The bacon's ready. Good morning, Iris. It smells delicious as usual. Before we eat, though, I have some news. I have a surprise this morning. Shh! Not another word, Mr. Naruhodo. This could be just the abstruse thing for my pre-breakfast stagnation-repelling mental stimulation, my dear fellow. Your what? Your what? Morning to you too, Mr. Sholmes. Ah, yes, I see. Dude. So that's it. Personal space, man. It's 7:30 in the morning. The truth is as clear to me as day. My faculties of observation have revealed it again. What are you talking about? You, Mr. Naruhodo, you have this very morning met with a surprise. Well, is that not the case? Really, my dear fellow, it barely warrants explanation. Firstly, your hair is particularly unkempt, somewhat reminiscent of a bird's nest. Secondly, you have neglected to fasten the third button on your jacket. Clearly, when considered together, these two facts point to having been flustered this morning. Or it being morning. Can I talk now? But of course, though I don't look for admiration, you understand. My hair always looks like this. It's been this way since I first met you. Oh, it has. And the button was ripped off last night, if you remember. By you. Really pulled your button off. Ah, yes, I recall the incident now. It was after supper, was it not? As the evening advanced, I picked up my violin and began to play the wailing notes of a haunting tune. But then, to my utter dismay, the third string snapped. Why did it have to happen? Why? Little wonder then that in my vexation I grabbed the first button I saw and ripped it from its proper place. I snapped a string on my violin, so in my confused rage I grabbed the nearest button and just yanked. Well, I'd like it back now, please. It's troubling me that I can't fasten my jacket. and it's troubling me that you expect me to know where it is. Somewhere thereabouts on the floor, one presumes. Helpful. What matters at present time, my dear fellow, is simply whether or not my deduction was unerring. But Hurley, Runa said it when he came in, didn't he? I had a surprise this morning. Well, that really is a surprise. Sholmes, man. Yes, this man is the pride of the British Empire. The famous consulting detective, Mr. Herlock Sholmes. There can't be a single person in the world who doesn't know his name. Alright then, enough of this silly conversation. Come and eat this bacon before it goes cold. I mean, twist my arm, why don't you? And I have a new herbal tea for you to try too. My latest special blend. And here we have Iris Wilson, Mr. Sholmes' lodger and companion. A truly exceptional young girl who's the author of a highly successful serialization here in London. Yes, The Adventures of Herlock Sholmes, as published in Rance magazine. So, Mr. Naruhodo, won't you put us out of our misery? What surprise do this fine morning? Ah, well, I received a letter from Japan. Oh, from Susie, you mean? Was it really? That's right, and she had some rather startling news, in fact. Ah. Ah, intriguing indeed. You must tell us all about it over breakfast. Oh yes, what fun. This looks like breakfast, yep. First of all. Oh, Mr. Sholmes, about this. Shh, not another word. Ah, yes, I see. This would be a collar for a breed of miniature canine with a particularly long neck and for winter use. Actually, it's the armband I always wear that symbolizes my role as a defense lawyer. Precisely, which leads one to but one conclusion. Your arm is in fact the particularly long neck of a miniature canine. Why? Starting to wish I'd never shown him this now. Man's barking mad. It's perfectly normal. This is the letter that arrived from Japan this morning by International Post. Oh, how lovely. Look at Susie's beautiful writing. I wish I could read it. And how is your judicial assistant faring, may I ask? She's very well, thank you. In fact, according to what she's written, she actually appeared as a lawyer at the Japanese Supreme Court and won a case. Ah, really? Oh, isn't she wonderful? Cut above your good self, my dear fellow. What? I also appeared at that court and won a case. With less experience, mind you. Not to, like, belittle her accomplishment, because, like, that's really cool, but, like, shut up. One case is two, you know. Covered wars, you know. Apparently, Mr. Natsume appeared in the trial as a witness. Natsume. Nope, don't recall that name. Of course you do. We helped the man twice. You know, in those two cases that took place on Briar Road 6 months ago? Ah, the mustache twitchy man, the somewhat feline eyes, and the mustache. He didn't have two mustaches, Hurley. Yeah, Sue could forget those two cases. They made a very deep impression on me. Did they? Films? Do you actually remember them? Although I must confess, the details are a little hazy now. Yeah, there you go. Very deep impression they made on you, clearly. So, what was this startling news penned by Miss Susano? Do you remember the case of the haunted lodgings, Mr. Sholmes? Ah, yes, it's very interesting, you know. I don't feel entirely uncertain that a case of that nature did not occur. See, when I forget cases, it's fine. Because I'm just a schmuck. You're a world-renowned inventor, detective, genius man. You should probably remember the cases you worked on. Probably. If only for your future cases. Totally forgotten that. Anyway, in her letter, Miss Susato asked that we read over her case notes again and investigate further. Though it took place half a year ago. For what purpose? This was something that Mr. Natsume said to her, apparently. He suggested that the real reason why she was called back to Japan so suddenly might have something to do with that case of the haunted lodgings. Hello? At Mr. Natsume's return to Japan, Miss Susato's father questioned him about the case, she said. And something Mr. Natsume said appeared to trouble Professor Mikotoba, prompting him to send that telegram. Oh, that case, yes. It was very strange, wasn't it? Yes. I had compiled the whole story into a nice, neat manuscript ready for publication, too. Then Hurley here was all funny about it, remember? He was very mean. That story must not be published, he said, very mysteriously as well. Really? I said that? Are you sure? Do you perhaps know something about it as well, Mr. Sholmes? About why Miss Susato was suddenly told 4 months ago that she had to return to Japan? It's been 4 months now since we waved Susie off at Dover. Such a shock, wasn't it? The way she just suddenly announced that she had to go back to Japan. Indeed it was, due to a telegram she received from her homeland, I believe. That's right, telling her to return urgently. Yes, because her father had passed away. No. Just said that he was suffering from a high fever, the cause of which was unknown. He's not dead. But according to this letter, the news about her father's fever was just a ruse. A ruse? So Susie's daddy lied to her so that she'd make the voyage back home. Why would he do that? I have to admit, I have absolutely no idea. But she believes it's almost certainly related to the case of the haunted lodgings. Summoning her back to Japan so suddenly like that, I wonder what Miss Susato's father is hiding. Hurley, do you know what this is all about? Wow, you got dressed fast. Is that the power of bacon? Oh well, who can say? What? But you said... Please, I have engagements, my dear fellow. My calendar is quite surprisingly full today. Sure it is. And a stringent analysis of the matter would be excessive, I feel, even if I were quite at leisure. So, man the fort in my absence, won't you, Iris? I will, Hurley, don't worry. See you later. Exit stage Sholmes. He scuttled off rather quickly there. I think perhaps Professor Mikotoba isn't the only person hiding something here, yet just everyone. Soseki-san was involved in 2 cases, but only one of them was forbidden from being published. By, of all people, Mr. Sholmes. Aha, I found them at last. Iris, are they... The notes about the case? That's right, Susie and I compiled them together. The case of the haunted lodgings. Do you want to read them, Runa? Absolutely, thank you, Iris. I have no idea what secrets could still be hiding in the shadows of this case, but perhaps if I read over the notes again, something might come to light. That's the spirit. You don't have to shoot me, I'm going to read the book. And so, Iris and I decided to read over the case notes again together. Everything from what happened to our investigation and that fierce battle in court that followed. reliving every detail. I just need to find a clue. All the time in the world. Because, of course, I'm no longer allowed to practice law in the courts of Great Britain. You know, as to do. It was 6 months ago, a mysterious incident that unfolded in the wintry streets of London. A young woman was found lying on the snowy pavement of Briar Road with a knife in her back. Fortunately, her life was spared, but she was unconscious for several days following the incident. The fog was thick and nobody saw her attacker, but by a cruel twist of fate, a visiting Japanese student was walking behind her at the same time, and was duly arrested. For 6 months, yeah, you know. Both of them have seen some nonsense, though. That man was Soseki-san, and the man who effected his arrest, that was Mr. Sholmes. Believing in our compatriot's innocence, Susato-san and I decided to represent Soseki-san in court. And after a grueling trial with many twists and turns, we finally managed to prove his innocence. Was the man's reaction after the trial, but his jubilant jubilation was short-lived. We received a telegram from Mr. Sholmes the following morning. The victim of the Briar Road stabbing has regained consciousness. Hurry to Bart's at once. Can you play darts at Bart's? So Susato-san and I summoned a hansom and headed immediately to the hospital. February, 5:30 a.m. Hospital recovery ward. There he is. There you are at last. Good morning, Mr. Sholmes. I think not. Oh? You're late. What on earth took you so long? Your telegram only arrived at 5 o'clock. Mr. Sholmes and it's 23 past... it's a 23-minute ride to the hospital. That's right, and it's 5:30 now. I think we made it very good time. The time is utterly irrelevant. The fact is, I have been waiting for what has felt like an eternity. In point of fact, I myself was awoken at 4 this morning by a telegram boy. Why? I mean, I guess in the history before cell phones, if you had an absolute emergency message, it had to get to someone somehow. And feeling it was someone unjust that I alone had been roused at such an hour, I sent one to you. Well, thanks for that. Anyway, you're here now, so the victim is over there. She's only just regained consciousness. Oh. You should introduce yourselves, and I shall observe from here. So that's the lady who was found on the snow-covered pavement with a knife in her back. Her name is yes, here we are, Miss Green. Yeah, forgot that was her name, but it works. Look, there's a photograph in this frame here. Oh yes, it's a picture of a young gentleman. He looks to be about the same age as Miss Green, I would say. Perhaps the young woman's special someone, do you think? My, Mr. Naruhodo, I didn't know you had a sense for matters of the heart. Not in the least. I sincerely said the first thing I thought of. This rounded wooden figure isn't the most charming, is it? I don't think that's a decoration, Mr. Naruhodo. It's an artist's mannequin, I believe, used when practicing sketching the human form in different poses. Really? It's not exactly what you call a typical figure for the purpose, though, is it? Well, I mean, you can still get poses, I guess. No, I suppose not. I confess I've never seen one quite so full-figured before. Well, if you want to draw a full-figured person, it's the right tool for the job. Eek, a mouse, Mr. Naruhodo, an enormous mouse. No, that's a rat. Vermin in a hospital. That doesn't seem the best. But it looks like a very healthy specimen, doesn't it? It's very plump. I'm not sure we can say that's down to the excellence of this facility, if that's what you're thinking. I mean, generally, it doesn't seem to be bothering anyone, so... But, that must be a bag of Miss Green's personal belongings. She would have been brought directly here after she was found stabbed in the pavement, though. Expected a friend or family member probably brought some things for her. Alright then, let's see what's inside. Change of clothes, no doubt. And... No, Mr. Naruhodo, you must never scrutinize a young maiden's personal belongings. I mean, I thought that was fairly known to him, but the young maiden might have chocolates, or biscuits, or caramel. Okay, fine. There are lots of bottles in that cabinet, aren't there? Do you think it's safe to keep them like that? If you were a patient here, I feel sure you take some medicine by mistake when you were half asleep. That is a worry. Excuse me, but at least the cabinet has a lock, even if it's only a flimsy-looking one. Oh, I have no doubt you've managed to unlock that somehow while you were half asleep as well. There are limits even to what I can do when I'm half asleep, you know, Mr. Sato. Wasn't checking the check mark. Another particular note? Yeah, I was trying to do that. There are all sorts of medicines in this cabinet. Look, I'm not sure if it's all safe. If it's safe, leaving them in reach of everyone like this. But yes, you're right. I can imagine if you were peckish, you might try a whole bottle or two. I've been hungry before. I've never been. I get down a bottle or two of pills that I don't know anything about whatsoever. Hungry. Even if you get lucky and you don't pill ones with like crazy side effects, I feel like that's some harder stuff there anyway. Well, whatever. This seems to be a little locked, secure cabinet doors. For the good eating experience, definitely, yeah. Not imagining that would stop you if you were hungry. I worried that you'd break the lock. Hunger doesn't turn me into a criminal, you know, Miss Susato. Ah, this looks like the treatment notes for whoever's occupying this bed. Let's see. Do not permit to run around the hospital. Patient doesn't seem to be here at the moment, so... he or she is probably running around the hospital then. Oh dear, how worrying. What's worrying is why they haven't discharged the patient yet. At least a little worrying. Good morning? Hello? I'm Ryunosuke Naruhodo from the Empire of Japan. Oh no! Was it your knife that... Are you the man who... No. I'm a lawyer. I'm Susato Mikotoba. Pleased to meet you. Oh no! Was it your knife then? Are you the one? No. I assure you, I'm Mr. Naruhodo's judicial assistant. We heard that you've regained consciousness and wanted to come give you our best wishes. I don't know why this just popped into my head, but I posted a few pictures of cards that I got from the Jumpstart set in the Discord yesterday. I got that set because two reasons. They printed cards in there that weren't in the main set, and Jumpstart packs are packs of 20 cards each that are designed so that you open two, shuffle them together, your opponent does the same thing, and you each have a 40 card deck that you immediately play against each other. And I think that's a cool idea for somebody who might not normally play Magic, who either wants to learn or just wants to dabble in it without like spending a lot of money on a deck. The other reason I wanted those packs, there was a specific card in them that I was like, I'm going to buy one box, and if I don't get the card, I'll just go buy it as a single. What I didn't know is that the card that I wanted, so the card I wanted specifically for me, I want because it's a legendary creature, Gorgon Assassin, called Ophilia Viper Whisperer. So, duh, I wanted the snake-haired assassin Viper Whisperer. No kidding. Second most expensive card in the set. The fun thing, I pulled the most expensive card in the set. Mind you, the most expensive card in the set is like $60, and the assassin's like $50. So I have put it up on eBay, and if I sell it, I'm gonna buy the Viper Whisperer one. But I was like, yeah, because these cards almost never hold value. They're the cards that like stores try to give away because collectors don't want those types of packs because they come with land and everything in them. They just want the rare from the pack. They don't care about the rest of it. But they added anime-looking cards in the set, so now it's sought after. It's like, I just want the Viper Whisperer, but it'll still eventually go down in price. I don't know why that popped in my head right now, but I did get a Snake Assassin in one of the packs I opened, but it's not the same as Viper Whisperer. That's just too good. We heard that you'd regained consciousness and wanted to come give you our best wishes. Best wishes? For me? Thank you. I'm Olive Green. I'm an artist. Well, no, that's not right, is it? What I mean is, I'm trying to be an artist. Well, what I really mean is, I desperately want to be an artist. But the truth is, I don't have any talent. I know I don't. It's no wonder I was stabbed in the back. I don't think that's related, actually. Gosh, this young woman seems to bend over backwards to put herself down. That's how she ended up on the knife. It was just on the ground, vertical as knives are. Seeing as we're here, we should ask her about what happened from her perspective, I suppose. To suddenly be struck in the back by a blade as you were walking along the pavement. What a terrible experience you had, Miss Green. It was so cold that day, and the fog was so thick, I couldn't see a thing. That was 4 days ago now, I think. Is that right? Yes, that's right. I'm afraid you've been comatose all that time. But the case has been solved, hasn't it? While I've been here in hospital, I mean. Indeed it has, my dear madam. Spectacularly, by none other than I, Herlock Sholmes. And mostly Naruhodo. Mr. Sholmes, as you well know, it was Mr. Naruhodo's hard work that in court that solved the case. Are you yet to hear what happened, Miss Green? Yes, I'm afraid so. A gentleman from the police force is supposed to be coming to fill me in shortly. Oh, I see. Me coming round seems to have made everyone frantically busy. I'm so sorry. I should never have regained consciousness. It was selfish of me. What? Oh no, we're all so relieved that you're on the mend, Miss Green. Really, we are. That kind of attitude, maybe her surname should be Blue, not Green. I mean, olive blue wouldn't make any sense. So, you're an artist, are you, Miss Green? Oh no, I couldn't possibly claim that. I'm a fledgling artist at best. I mean, I'm a student of art, really. At the Thorndike Academy of Fine Arts. Oh my, an Academy of Fine Arts. Great Britain is such a wonderful country. Tell me, Miss Green, do you live hereabouts? Oh no, actually. Don't deserve it, but I have a little flat in Brixton Road. I see. How very interesting. No. Is it? Brixton is some 10 stops away on the underground from here, and Thorndike Academy is a mere 3-minute walk from Brixton Town Centre. Does that matter, Mr. Sholmes? Perhaps not, but Briar Road is a far less salubrious part of town by comparison, dwelt on by those of inferior means, including the maleficent Mr. Mustache. Inferior means? I suppose Hoseki-san does fit the bill. It struck me as somewhat out of the ordinary for a young fine art student to be walking in such a district. That's all. What's this? She suddenly clammed up. Mr. Sholmes, you should be ashamed of yourself prying into a young maiden's private affairs. That should not be the reaction to, how dare you? How dare me? Do forgive me! If you don't mind. I'm being discharged shortly, so I need to pack up my things. Oh yes, of course. We won't keep you. Thank you so much, Miss Green. Is there Mr. Narrow Fodder here? Mr. Narrow Fodder. Narrow Fodder now. Well, if you're looking for Naruhodo, the lawyer, that's me, but... Mr. Narrow Fodder, good. This is for you. It's a message from a Mr. Saucy Nutsmeg. Pardon? A Mr. What? Saucy Nutsmeg? I don't know if I want to read about their saucy nuts, Meg. Yeah, normally you'd call the police, but I guess not in this circumstance exactly. Mr. Natsume sent a message to me. But why would a policeman be delivering a message from Mr. Saucy Nutmeg? Exactly. What's going on? What's a Scotland Yard constable doing playing delivery boy at this time in the morning? What are you waiting for? Let me see that. Oh. Well, this is most unexpected. Something wrong, Mr. Sholmes? It's something wrong, Mr. Sholmes, he says. Have you not seen this note? No, you ripped it out of my hands and read it before me. No, how could I have? It would seem that London's criminals have no intention of letting the great detective rest. A new case calls. A case of murder, no less. We must depart at once. Murder? Call a cab. Time is of the essence. But the trouble is... we've yet to read Mr. Natsume's note. I was thinking we ought to pay him a visit in his lodgings once we did. be entirely convenient. Convenient? What do you mean? It's all here in the note, my dear fellows. The murder we must investigate took place at Mr. Mustache's lodgings. Wait, what? I'll hear of yours at once. Okay. It's only yesterday that Soseki-san was in court and we were dispelling doubts about his innocence. And now, the very next day, there's a murder at the man's own address? He may very well be the unluckiest man alive. Or so it seemed to us at the time, but we were soon to discover it was worse than we thought. Of course it was. February, 7:18 a.m. Mr. Natsume's lodgings, ground floor. What on earth? Oh my, this gentleman is deceased without question. He's dead. Look, Mr. Naruto Esquire. Mr. Natsume. Oh, why is this happening? Why to me? I just got out of court yesterday. I was finally home after 2 days of misery. Then I wake up the next day to this. Nowhere do the early birds catch a worm like this. Woeful worm without wiggle. I see you're in high spirits again this morning, Mr. Mustache. Ah! Not the horrible Herlock Sholmes. Shove off. Show yourself the door. I never invited you. So Sholmes came here with us. Quite sure he'll be able to help you, Mr. Natsume. I'm entirely at your disposal, Mr. Mustache. What can I do for you? Leave! Here they are. Already the busybodies. Inspector Gregson, what a pleasant surprise. Pleasant, is it? It gives me heartburn every time I see your face at a crime scene, Sholmes. I deduce, Inspector, that your heartburn is a result of your excessive consumption of fried food. Good morning, Inspector. This is a crime scene. Don't you go touching anything. Or good morning to you too, Sunshine. I feel like that's such the name for like somebody who's just grouchy in the morning. Let's see what they got looking around. Oh, I said hands off. You're gonna mess up my crime scene. Oh, no, I just wanted to look, that's all. Not a chance. I know you're kind. You don't mess it up just by looking at it. Someone's in a bad mood. There's certainly some bad air in here, isn't there? Besides you. Alright, sounds like I'd better talk to the inspector first and try to curry some favor. Where did he... So, Inspector, what was the victim's name? Who was he? Mr. William Shamspear. He was a lodger here. As you can probably tell, he was an actor. Bit of a dead loss as it happens, or just dead. Mr. Shamspear. It was the landlord, old Mr. Garrett, and the other lodger, Mr. Natsume, who found him. Bella didn't raise at the usual hour, so Garrett got worried and kicked the door down. But doesn't Mr. Garrett have a bad leg? Ah, yeah, you're right there. It's that jittery Japanese hunched over there who actually did the kicking. It's just really Soseki-san? Victim was pretty hard up, it seems. Even done some time inside for petty crimes. He had no money, no place to go, and no friends. He's only acquaintances with the people in this house. Miserable life, and a miserable end to it. So, what exactly is Mr. Natsume still doing here? He's not involved in the investigation, so shouldn't you have sent him away from the crime scene? Well, I'm not saying it's because this fellow looks odd or anything, or that he acts suspicious. But I thought it would be prudent to take a statement from the culprit. I mean, cohabiter. You really said culprit there, didn't you? Oh dear, Mr. Natsume appears to be under suspicion again. Imagine... like... oh man, he just got out of prison. Not prison, but like... jail? Holding? Whatever? That whole trial. That guy... yeah, sure. And all of a sudden you're just back under suspicion. You're the presumed culprit. It certainly seems that way. Doesn't just come across as such an odd fellow, doesn't it? Does it? Poor man, how unfortunate. Anyways, can't stand much until the encounter gets bigger. Until the coroner gets there. I don't think the fellow's been goner for that long. Body's still warm. So we can't touch it. I mean, I get it. He's the inspector, he can touch it. I forgot what time they said it was. I don't know if it would show up here, actually. No, it doesn't. Well, it might. No, it doesn't. Okay. It was probably not super relevant. Well, I mean, it's still pretty early. It must be pretty early in the day. Because they woke up, got the note, went to Green, got the note, came to here. Wait, no. Sorry. They woke up, got the note, reminisced and flashed back to going to Green, and now all of this is in that flashback. I didn't want to say anything because I had called Sholmes out for the exact same thing, but I was like, wasn't there only one case with Natsume in it? I mean, at least with him, like, I was like, wasn't there just one case? But I was like, yeah, he showed up in others, for sure. But I meant, like, with him, like, featuring prominently. He was there for others, absolutely. But I was like, am I just forgetting? I could just be forgetting. That just happens, you know. But I was like, swear there was just one where he was prominent. I was like, let the game go, whatever. I feel better. Every now and again, don't forget. Sometimes, rare, but sometimes. Interesting start to this game of having a case very far, at least it seems initially, removed from the rest of the game. Excuse me. And then having the second case being a flashback. I mean, to be fair, the first game did it interestingly too. The first game started in a country that the rest of the game doesn't take place in. And the second case wasn't even really a court case. It was more just a whodunit on a boat. Which was also very unique compared to everything else. I don't think the fellow's been a goner that long. Body's still... yeah, I read that. Even if the inspector would allow it, I don't think I could bring myself to touch a dead body. Wait, so he has recently touched a dead body and is still over here just chomping down fish and chips? Dude, hope you at least washed your hands. Minimum wash your hands.
So tasty.
Okay. Yeah, can't. I get it. Can't touch it. There's certainly some bad air in here, isn't there? Alright, sounds like I better talk to the inspector. I did talk to the inspector. Oh. They mean no, they don't, actually. But I tried to talk to the inspector. Oh, what was the victim's... yeah, we got that. I don't think we curried in the favor with him, though. Way. So then what else can we even... I guess we can talk here. What a terrible thing to have happened. It's only been 3 days since I was arrested for the incident at the pavement outside. And then, having finally regained my freedom, it starts happening all over again. Endless existence of excruciating experiences. So, the victim lived here on the ground floor, and your room is just one story up, isn't it? Yes, that's right. In a way, we were neighbors, I suppose. So, did you know the victim? Were you friends? What's the matter with Soseki-san now? It was an innocent enough question, wasn't it? Why does he seem so shaken by it? Well, I suppose he wasn't a complete stranger. Did he ever invite me to his room? Never! On my honor, I swear it! What an extreme reaction. You're probably wishing you'd never asked now, aren't you, Mr. Naruhodo? When we found him here, I felt wretched, which is why I sent word asking for you to come. Through that inspector over there. Who? That inspector? No. Mr. Sholmes? What are you doing? Ha! You need only observe to know it, my dear fellow. Investigating, naturally. There's nothing natural about that pose. Mr. Sholmes, have you made some miraculous discovery? Patience, my dear madam, patience. We've not been here in this room 5 minutes. So far, all I've managed to deduce is what actually happened. Oh, is that all? My goodness, but isn't that everything we need to know, Mr. Sholmes? Now that you propose the idea, I believe one could indeed see it that way. At the present time, I've managed to draw 2 incontrovertible conclusions. The first is that I have to use the bathroom. The second is that I will beat up anyone who gets between me and that bathroom. Is that there was a physical struggle here last night, in which the victim fought for his life. Mr. Natsume, what's wrong? Is something that Mr. Sholmes said significant somehow? No, don't mind me. Forget I was here. Okay. My second conclusion is that there was a poison lingering in the air here last night. Past the victim's lips. Nonsense! Alright, Mr. Natsume, why are you reacting so extremely to Mr. Sholmes' deductions? No, please, pretend I'm not here. Invisible, ineffable, inscrutable, insignificant. Possible to ignore. You must tell us everything, Mr. Sholmes. Spare no detail. But of course, let the theatrical tragedy before us be unraveled by my great deductions, presented for your pleasure in 2 acts. I've heard some truly astounding great deductions from Mr. Sholmes in the past. No doubt this will be no exception. What miracles will unfold before our eyes this time? So, my dear fellows, for your delight and wonder, let the curtain rise. For Sherlock Sholmes' logic and reasoning spectacular. Act 1. The great deduction. The game is fun. Topic 1. Cause of deceasedness. Careful observation of the victim reveals to us the events that transpired in this disconsolate room last night. Foam at the mouth of the deceased clearly indicates the use of poison. Does it? Next to the victim, we notice a large dining plate which contains, you will observe, One half of a sizable bar of soap. Meaningful, indubitably. Why is the soap set so purposefully upon the dish, like the victim's Last Supper? In fact, yes. Could it be that the man was about to eat it? Of course, the fork reveals the answer. It appears that the young man's appetite was his undoing. Taking up arms in the form of his cutlery, the victim engaged in a deadly battle for his life. Yet the struggle against his hunger was in vain, for at the end he couldn't resist devouring the slippery feast. London's foul soap is besmirched by foul poison. Actually. Yes, the victim's life was claimed by poison that tainted the contents of the plate. Sure. The soap and the lather about the young man's mouth are too perfectly matched to ignore. The cause of death was clearly intoxication due to excessive ingestion of foul soap. Though personally, I have a greater interest in the taste of foul candle wax, of course. Cause of death identified. We proceed to Act 2, where we ponder the next question. Was this suicide or murder? The audience will recall that death occurring during the victim's Last Supper. Did the man dine and die alone? This single teacup suggests the answer. Just appears. To draw a conclusion on such meager evidence would be foolish, however, certainly. The careful criminal could have absconded with his own cup to cover his tracks. Well, allow me to lift the veil of doubt, my dear fellow. Indeed, what reveals the answer, of course, is the broken lock. Though forced open now, at the time of the incident, this door was locked. And the soul key was in the victim's pocket. How did you know that? The rest of it was stuff you could just see. How did you know that? In other words, when the victim consumed the poison, he must have been alone. Alone with his inferior soap, from whence wafted an inferior scent. Are you dissing this man's soap? Did you want to eat it first? And with that acrid aroma lingering in the air, the victim met his end in tragic solitude. We can take comfort only in the fact that his soul was well cleansed on its way to the hereafter. No possible... Yep. Thus concludes the final act of Sherlock Holmes' Great Deduction. Join a soap MLM. Yeah. Yeah. Soapy Sholmes's Slippery Soap Posium. There's just one thing, Mr. Sholmes. You are disposed to identify just one thing, aren't you, Mr. Naruhodo? Play. What concerns you? Well, no matter how hungry he was, do you really think the man would have eaten soup? Soap. Not soup, sorry. It is quite apparent that this man has barely a penny to his name. Yeah, unfortunately. It's a curious thing, but to one so destitute, soap can suddenly appear quite irresistibly appeasing. No. Like soap? Come on.
tasty.
Oh, so hey, Ark, how's it going? Welcome to Viperland on the chat. How extraordinary.
The ultimate flavor experience.
In truth, I've tried a little soap myself in the past. You've eaten it, you mean? My dear fellow, it was some time ago now. My postulation was that it would cleanse my gut. I'm sure it did. Forcibly. Violently. And quickly. Oh. Oh. Okay. 3-tug ramen. Well, you have now fished up Alexander. So, you know, that happens sometimes. Sometimes you just get a surprise sonic boom from the pond. It does make you wonder how deep that pond is. Don't question anything. Don't worry about it. Ignore the fact that you've pulled up whales and sharks and Alexander. Don't overthink it. It's a backyard pond. It's normal stuff. And did it? As I writhed in agony on the floor and spilt the contents of my stomach? Yes, I believe it did. The experience taught... See, the hope is that some of that trash hits Alexander and just... into a different time, so I don't even have to worry about it. The experience taught me a valuable lesson. Soap is quite poisonous. It has an unpleasant taste and leads to great discomfort. In summary, I cannot recommend it. Thanks. Believe me, I wouldn't eat it even if you did. There's something that troubles me as well, actually. Oh, what's that? It's Mr. Natsume. Ah! Couldn't help noticing him shuddering and quivering out of the corner of my eye. Almost as if Mr. Sholmes' deductions touched a nerve somehow. No, nonsense! Well, that clenched teeth episode didn't last. I think, judging by Mr. Natsume's reaction, great detective's deductions may need some gentle corrections in order to reach the actual truth. Yes, Mr. Sholmes' observations and deductions are sometimes a little too sharp. He has a tendency to hit the nail on the side of the head and drive it in an obtuse angle. Yep. It's true, he is in the water. So now, the fish Alex up too. So how many are there? I mean, this is a catch and release channel. So, you know. No, she won the case. She sent a letter to England, and it reminded us of a case that would have happened during the time frame of the first game, but we didn't witness, so now we're flashing back to that case. This happened the day after the Soseki Natsume incident, the first. When he does that, it falls to us to straighten things out. Alright then, let's see what we can do. Yes, we must pick out the key words in Mr. Sholmes' quite brilliant introductions, and discreetly exchange them for something that makes a little more sense. Excuse me, if we can do that, I'm sure we'll arrive at what Mr. Sholmes meant to say in the first place. In that case, are you ready for the second performance of the day? Once again, my dear fellows, for your continued delight and wonder, let the curtain rise for Herlock Sholmes' Logic and Reasoning Spectacular, Act 1. Course correction. Let's see. Yep. Fiction reveal, events that transpired. Bone with the mouth. Poison. Standing plate. Soap. Victims of Last Supper, or Last Soper. Fork. Well, you can't deny that a fork implies the man was eating something, or about to eat something. Yes, that's true. If I were to decide to eat some soap, I should prefer to use a fork than to attempt it with chopsticks. And of course, only half the bar of soap is left on the plate. But might there not be some other explanation? Something material that proves whether or not the man really ate some soap? I mean, the fork doesn't seem to have soap residue on it, but we can't really. It's gotta be the teacup. I don't know. I feel like it's the only thing. Oh. It might be the other piece of soap. Look, there's more soap on the floor here. Mr. Shamspeare must really have loved the stuff. Let's not jump to conclusions, Mr. Naruhodo. Look closely at the soap. Do you see that it would fit together perfectly with the half bar on the table? What the? How can that be? I think that they are two halves of the same bar that broke apart. Yeah, I'm gonna use that.
Take that!
Oh, they said he hasn't been dead long, so I'm gonna guess rigor mortis, but yeah, it's impressive. Could it be that the man was about to eat it? Of course! The other piece of soap reveals the answer. It being the other half of the soap on the table. In short, the victim was not eating soap at all. But it's obvious, really, for no depth of hunger could drive any man to attempt to eat soap. It's the exact opposite of what he said last time. Even I, with my unquenchable thirst for practical knowledge, took only a single bite. That begs the question of how the man was poisoned, because there's no sign of any food on the table. An excellent observation, Mr. Naruhodo, and one that furnishes us with the answers we seek. For London's foul soap is besmirched by foul poison. Okay, I've seen this bit. Victim's life was claimed with poison. Contents tainted to the contents of the plate. So Sholmes is still pushing the soap argument then. Perhaps he's suggesting the man licked the soap rather than ate it? If soap in London is that poisonous, I don't think I want to be washing my hands with it. There's no signs of any food in this room at all. Of course, food isn't the only thing that passes people's lips, is it? Maybe some sort of teacup.
Take that!
Yes, the victim's life was claimed by poison that tainted the teacup. Indeed, cups have been the vessel of choice for practicing poisoners over the centuries. And it would appear that this victim drank every last drop. There's no sign of food anywhere in the room. Which leads us to the immutable conclusion. Cause of death was clearly intoxication due to the ingestion of poison contained in this teacup. Cool. So, tea poison seems a little more likely. The cause of death identified. We proceed to Act 2, where we ponder the next question. Was it suicide, murder? Auditors were called to the victim's last supper. The man died and die alone. This single teacup suggests the answer. Ah, the Western vessel for infused hot drinks again. Already featured heavily in our deduction so far. Yes, we can imagine that shortly before his death, Mr. Shamspeare was having a drink of tea. There would be nothing remarkable about that, but what troubles me is Mr. Natsume's reaction when he heard Mr. Sholmes suggest it. It's more of a deduction than it seems. Let's closely examine the scene of the crime again for some more clues.
Take that!
I mean, all he had to do is just peer. Did the man die and die alone? Other teacups suggest the answer. Yes, there were 2 teacups in this room all along. In other words, there's a strong indication that the victim's last supper, there was a guest present. At the very least, we can say now with certainty that somebody else was here in this room last night taking tea with the victim. Or he just likes to dual teacups. What are you talking about? Utterly, unbelievably, unjustly unreasonable. To draw a conclusion with such meager evidence would be foolish, however, certainly. In which case, what more can we deduce about this possible guest at the table? Well, allow me to lift the veil of doubt, my dear fellow. Do you mean to say you know who exactly was in this room at the time of the victim's death? Indeed. What reveals the answer, of course, is the broken lock. I'm not sure I like where this deduction is going now. I'm afraid it's too late to go back to the Hyclone days of eating too much soap. The identity of the guest who was in here last night when the victim passed away is something I have a very bad feeling about. Well, you can try to ignore your feelings, but we cannot ignore the truth, Mr. Naruhodo. No, I suppose not. Time to look around again. First glance, it seems the only things in this room are the makeshift stage and costumes. I overlooked these 3 books initially. Wonder what they are. Let's see. The titles read The Picture of Monsieur Lecoq, Canterbury Yearnings, and Emile for Gabriel. Wait. Sure, I've heard those titles before. They really don't want you, like, you're really supposed to be the first one before this. Like, this is really a direct, like, story continuation. Exact same 3 books that Mr. Natsume purchased the other day. What? Yes, the day of the unfortunate incident when Miss Green was stabbed. So 6 times just been to a bookshop, open them right away. Mr. Natsume claims they've never been here before. What? What does this mean, do you think? I really don't know what to make of it. I do. I love familiar books.
Take that!
See, I'd like to think Yoshi P wouldn't say that. Could, theoretically, yeah, sure. Indeed, what reveals the answer, of course, is the pile of familiar books. Quite so. It is no mere coincidence that these 3 titles are here in this room. It's the link to the truth. Mr. Natsume, you purchased these books 4 days ago at the second-hand bookshop. That's just a coincidence. In that case, you'll be able to bring the same 3 titles from your own room, will you not? This very moment. No, never, non-negotiable. Can't bring your own copies here. It proves that these 3 books are in fact yours. Having purchased the books 4 days ago and returned to your lodgings, you were arrested the very next day. So you could conceivably have bought the books here on that evening, but you never mentioned them. In other words, you could only have brought these 3 books here to the victim's room. Yep, there it goes. Last night, having returned to your lodgings after the trial concluded at the Old Bailey. In short, there's only one possible conclusion. The victim died here in his room last night as a result of poisoning. That same night, the victim had a visitor. Visitor? It was you, Mr. Soseki Natsume. Thus concludes the final act of Herlock Sholmes' great deduction. Deduction complete. Elementary. Not again, not again, not again. Not again! Well then, Mr. Natsume. It would appear you're gonna have to accompany me down to the yard. Again. But wait! Hold your horses! Yes. Door, key, locked, entry, exit, entirely impossible. He's so flustered he's being even stranger than normal. What, you think that's an alibi? You could have just made a copy. What? You live in the same building after all. You'd have had plenty of opportunity, I'm sure. But... Misery me! Sorry, sir. I'll get you a chance to give your side of the story later. The facts speak for themselves, Mr. Mustache. You horrible Herlock Sholmes! He really has found himself an arch rival now, hasn't he? Come on now, no dilly-dallying. Outside, it's a carriage waiting. I never imagined I'd be in this position again, but... You have to help me, please, please! I'm innocent. Alright, I understand. Come to your cell later and talk about it. And one more thing. Yes? My poor little kitty cat. Please give him his breakfast for me. And so, his evil curse still apparently unbroken, so Seki-san found himself once again the prime suspect in a case of murder. As you do. Thanks to the incriminating deduction of the great detective. My dear fellow, that honor belongs to you. Well, at least that means Inspector Gregson is no longer here. We can examine the crime scene in more detail now. Yes, that's right. Ah, of course. What? Have you forgotten what the inspector mentioned before? It was the landlord, Mr. Garib, who discovered Mr. Shamspeare. Ah, Mr. John Garib, yes. Inspector could find him in his sitting room on the top floor as usual. Right, I must remember to go and talk to him later then. So that just lets me go, oh, the location's been added. Some options. I imagine we can't go to all of them right now anyway. Well, I'm going to save here. I think this is a good teaser of this trial. A good little starting snippet. We have to finish the previous one. Also, I'm very hungry. And I'd like to eat something. So, yeah. That seems pretty decent. And my throat's hurting a little bit. It's not as bad as I thought it was going to be. I thought my throat was going to be worse. I honestly wasn't sure I'd make it past like 10. It's not that bad. But I don't want to push it right now. I feel like with the next few days, it'll just be fine. So, it bounced back from karaoke quicker than it did last time. The last time I did karaoke, it took a little longer to bounce back. But it was also a bigger crowd in the city, not in a home. So I feel like they just have different vibes. Oh, maybe I picked up something in the city for all I know that time. I don't know. But yeah. Really intrigued about the setup for this case. Really liked that first case, especially because you just get to judo throw the dude at the end. Definitely curious about what they're setting up for the overarching Japan x Britain shenaniganry. City that just keeps on giving, yeah. I like visiting New York, but I for sure, if I'm gonna pick up a cold these days, I mean, I could pick it up. You can get sick from anything, but like between the train to the city, crowded city places. I took the subway for the first time since I lived in the city when I was there that time for karaoke. There's stuff. There's stuff. I still washed hands before. I still got to wash hands before I eat. Don't get me wrong, but like, you never know. Or it could have just been because it was a different karaoke place with louder professional speakers, and we all had to, you know, be louder. Who knows? Either way, The next 2 days are off. Friday I'm back though. No cards this week. No cards next week. Though it strikes me that next week I'll be off Thursday again too, because it'll be Thanksgiving. But yeah, the card store doesn't do cards again until after Black Friday. So Friday the 6th I'll probably be off again for cards. But this Friday, next Friday, I don't think we're doing anything for Black Friday here. Like I'll be doing some shopping online for people, but I don't think I'm doing anything that would get me out of the house for stream time. I don't think so. So yeah, the next 2 Fridays I should be around. Yeah, that's what we got. Thank you all for tuning in. Thank you all for watching. We got extra shoutouts tonight, definitely. Where did it go? We got the extra shoutout to Hecking 7th. I forgot to say the extra shoutout to Grim last night. My bad. For the 84-month resubscription, and tonight was the 88th 7th resubscription. And everyone chat, hanging out, solving cases, having a good time. Also, if I'm going to be a little early, I may as well see if there's anyone we can toss it to. I can only assume this person is just starting up because they have no views, and I know that's not usually how it... Oh, no. Why do they show us 0 views? They have tons. Okay. 165. Why does it show? It showed 0 for a second. Okay, never mind. I was about to say that's impossible. I've got a few options. Just figuring out who to toss it to. Twitch is dumb. Yeah, it was the real Crystal Mommy, and I was like, there's no way she's got 0 views right now. Unless she just hit play, which she might have. You know what? I rarely get to raid this person, so we're gonna raid Nightside. Almost never actually get to raid Nightside. They do lots of streaming and lots of Monster Hunter and lots of stuff, but often the times are just different between us. So I know they just recently had a Monster Hunter speedrunning competition. So they're also pushing for partner. Oh, I didn't notice that. Okay, well, then definitely hosting Nightside for sure. I didn't know they were doing a partner push. That I had no idea. So definitely hitting Nightside. So cool. Thank you all for tuning in. Thank you all for watching. This has been Vipers of Viperland. There's a raid message in case anyone wants it. But yeah, anyone doing a partner push that's any of the like cool Monster Hunter people we know, always gotta support them. We got ourselves a monster, a cool, a disco, and objection.
Shut up!
That might still be my favorite one. It was so unexpected. Phenomenal. But yeah, thank you all for tuning in. Thank you all for watching. It's been Vipers of Viperland. See you all next time.